Grim bloke. Yeah. And then, yeah, bruv. Yeah, bruv. In it. Grim bloke. Let me tell you about this one time. I went through a porthole and snuck into the North Pole and got picked up in a Hyperborean DeLorean. They said they knew I was a Webster Merriam historian, master the numerical Gregorian, the hysterical mystic, no more than a Pythagorean. Conspiracy theory Ethereum in the etheric fear realm. I thought they were gonna take me to the crematorium in
Welcome back, ballers.
DeLorean. Tested me on my Sumerian, Shakespearean. Knew I was a numerical vegetarian. Aquarian.
Mic check.
That I knew about the Tartarians, barbarians, Mars radium, aliens. Salt of the earth, solution, Selenian.
Let's pivot to the one everyone really likes. Can everyone hear me okay? Mic check.
Yeah, bruv. The game ain't hard when you got the trump card. It's all rigged and I'm calling more games than Bob Uecker. Changing the outcomes like Duke Nukem to a new future. Win some, lose some, bag some, choose none. Will the aliens come save the day? Are we going to listen to what they say? The uranium, cranium, aliens popping up like circadians. Got me spontaneously training in the Palladium gymnasium. Ultimate battle in the extraterrestrial stadium. It really just be the Mediterranean and Sylvanians. Bloodlines, overtime, dragon descendants. Scripting bread and circus lizards in attendance. Serpent queens, breaking dreams, dragging me down. The underworld royalty is all about how much you can clown. I'm talking about the number 9-2. If you didn't know, well now you do. Numerous fears, what's in the hearse? I am who I am, man with a plan. Where you at with the rebellion? 1 in a million, us against a billionaire reptilians. Look at the word rebellion, spells out the same as the rebel lion. Ain't even trying, ain't living, you're dying. Well done to the skeleton, no time for rebellion. Strawmen led by spellmen, dialectic Hegelian. Everyone's worked up waiting for the aliens. Problem, reaction, solution, little contribution. The script tells that they cast spells like nuclear fusion. Spreading confusion, lie distribution. Old as hell, ain't even some new shit.
All the radium, cranium, aliens popping up like circadians. Got me spontaneously training in the Palladium gymnasium. Ultimate battle in the extraterrestrial stadium. It really just be the Mediterranean Transylvanians.
Welcome, everybody.
The uranium, cranium, aliens popping up like circadians. Got me spontaneously training in the
Welcome back, ballers, to another episode on the Ball Don't Lie channel and connecting with Decoding with Kodi to another episode of Eye to Eye with AJ, Rambo, and Kodi. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm excited about this one. Thank you guys for checking the mics. Rambo, Kodi, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Codes. Let's dive right in. My name is AJ, Ball Don't Lie, 3 L's in Ball. You guys can find all my work on YouTube, where we're streaming from tonight, as well as on Instagram. Also got a Patreon page, patreon.com/OnTheMoneyBall. Only 2 L's in Ball on that one, if you guys are interested in sports leans and things like that. But feel free to send me an email if you guys are interested in any of the books I've written over the last several years. I'm working on my next one with Myron. I'm excited about that one. It'll take some time, but it'll be a doozy. Kodi.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you, AJ, for another stream, and thank you for Rambo for also being here. I just want to say that I am streaming on my stream tonight, so make sure you guys go support both streams no matter what stream you're in. You can find my stream on Decoding with Kodi on YouTube. And then that's my link is buymeacoffee.com/decoding with Kodi. And look forward to another great stream.
It'll be a good one for sure. Rambo, please let the viewers know where they can find you and support you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And it's a great privilege to have Kodi with all the great work and reputation he's built in this community and his support for us as well. So thanks again for putting this together, AJ. And your decodes as well. You don't just put it together. You have great contributions in your own right. And this is where I can be found. Patreon.com/thetruthcodes. There's only one tier, which is $5 a month. That's all. The only tier. You have access to the Codebreaker community Discord as well. You have excellent decoders who I'm very thankful for. I express my thanks every week, and their great comments and insights can also be seen in the comment section of all my posts and videos on Patreon. Don't just watch the video. You have to read the comments as well. Brilliant commenters and subscribers whom I'm very, very thankful for. And that's, you get the whole community, not just me. Thank you, Sojourn. And I'm also on Instagram.com/thetruthcodes.
Well, we are just as thankful to have you in our corner every week, Rambo, and I can attest to that, you guys. Seriously, $5 a month, not a day, not a week, not an hour, but you get access to all of his content. He also has a free tier at the very least. Sign up for the free tier so you can get a little more taste of what he's about, but you guys also get technically a free tier here as well every week. So, with that said, Rambo, I'm going to pass you the stage here. Now that you got some stuff for us to kick us off.
Okay, good. All right, so I usually give a little context before I show my little video. It's 3 minutes, 40 seconds. It's very short. I put out a video today for patrons. It is titled War of the Worlds, and it is focused primarily on an issue that quite astonishingly has become mainstream, and that is the issue of intelligent life that does not originate from Earth, which all these years was the realm of conspiracy theorists, quote unquote. That's just a label. Those are just people who can see beyond the veil most of the time. Of course, there are conspiracy theories that are, you can say, nonsensical or fit the stereotype of a conspiracy theory, but there's a deeper conspiracy there because a lot of those come from those in power to lead you off the trail. That's a conspiracy on top of a conspiracy. Nonetheless, that's how this subject was labeled. There was the allegation that the United States has made contact and has proof, in some cases, interacting with intelligent beings from other planets. That was always, by the government themselves and the mainstream, was always considered absurd. This is the first time in history that I can think of, unless there are other examples. I've tried to find any, I can't, where the official source is now saying that the conspiracy theorists were right all along. So this is a major issue, and it's perfectly understandable why many people may feel that this is not the best place to be putting your energy right now. I perfectly understand that perspective, but the thing about the UFO issue, not called UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, that's the new term. The important issue here is the fact that the United States government and private entities, not just the government, they're entities more powerful than the government, because the government isn't really, we know that in this community. There are powers behind the government, and the government does not have authority. For example, when you have these so-called medical emergencies, that's not coming from the government, that's coming from the powerful industries that make these substances that they want to put in you. So the government if the government had power, they would regulate people like Pfizer, who are like the most criminal, and this is according to the Department of Justice, corporations in American history. So that tells you it's not about the government. There are institutions more powerful than the government, but nonetheless, the government of the United States still, despite that, is one of the most powerful institutions in human history. And so what's important about the UFO phenomenon is that the United States government and private entities have they have had possession of highly advanced craft from other planets, and they've back engineered some of them to a pretty fair degree. And the majority of UFO sightings, this hasn't come out yet, so they've made the first step in saying they exist. That's step one. What has to happen if this has any substance is for them now. Now, what we want to do, they're good at admitting to that conspiracy theorists were correct. Okay, good. Since they're in this truth mode, hopefully, what they'll reveal is that they have back engineered these craft and have craft that can do more or less the same as what the extraterrestrial craft can do. It's highly advanced technology. Part of the reason I doubt that they'll say it, I'll be surprised if they do. I never thought they'd admit it, because this just opens the door to the whole thing. Because then you have to look at Artemis 2 and NASA and say, hey, wait a minute, this is 1960s technology. You actually have technology that's way more advanced than that. Why are you wasting $100 billion on Artemis 2? When that's literally primitive. You have much more advanced, and that's what comes out. And if that comes out, what that will do is pretty much, it will upend the whole power structure, because it's one of the tools for human enslavement is, besides money, number one is money, the other is energy. And anti-gravity energy, once that technology comes out, then you pretty much have to then say, well, let's replace this ancient system. Even solar panels are primitive compared to what that energy source is. And so they're actually on the verge of pretty much admitting that they have access to that technology, which will think of geopolitics at the moment, the Strait of Hormuz, the war in Iran, and the energy crisis. This is from an American perspective. Across the world, there are people who have no energy, who have no electricity at all. But even from an American perspective, well, you're worried about high gas prices. Well, none of that should be an issue, because they have an energy source that is virtually limitless and virtually, well, not virtually, it's free because it doesn't cost anything. You're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of trillions of dollars that will be lost by corporations and other entities that are dependent on the energy system as we have it now for their power. That's why this UFO issue is important. So yeah, so this is I'll just give an excerpt from a video that I put out on Patreon for patrons, and then after that, I have a short clip from Men in Black pertaining to what we're talking about now, which is, after all I've said, seems super trivial in comparison. It's the NBA basketball final between the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs, which does seem trivial in comparison, but you consider who the star of the NBA is and of the San Antonio Spurs is Victor Wembanyama, who's nicknamed the Alien. Not a coincidence that somebody named the Alien is coming to prominence at this time. So, yeah, here we go.
To get an idea of just how central and, going forward, unavoidable the topic of extraterrestrials will be, this is Fox, as mainstream and prominent a news outlet as there is on its Chicago TV station. This is not from a conspiracy channel. Not that conspiracy channels don't present truth, but this is the world in 2026.
New claims in this age of disclosure that we're in, okay, that the United States has recovered remains of not one or two, but 4 separate species of alien life over time that the government knew about.
Yes, the government, the United States government, since 1945, before Roswell, there was a crash in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and we have retained and stored in various states of storage, whether it be cryogenic or deep freeze, or in the 40s, which would be a formaldehyde. We have and still have to this date alien extraterrestrial bodies at around 10 to 12 facilities around the country. And I can name them if you'd like, but take it to the bank. The United States government has and does have these bodies, has examined them, and as my bizarre 3-minute film that I've been researching has shown, has interrogated for long-term purposes and long-term use actual living extraterrestrial entities.
Or of the Worlds, named after the famous and still influential UFO-related H.G. Wells' work and fake E.T. invasion radio broadcast.
We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the wood, the fires, the gas tanks for the automobiles, spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill.
All right, kid, here's the deal. At any given time, there are around 1,500 aliens on the planet, most of them right here in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's the clip. So right at the end, those were very important scenes, very relevant scenes from Men in Black.
I'll just say too. I don't know if this is in your presentation, but the Spurs did do some sort of advertisement where they called themselves the Men in Black. It was like they're 4 big players. Did you catch that by chance?
I didn't see that, but I'm not surprised. So what is it? It's like a promotion type thing? Because I just have this graphic here just to illustrate that they are the Men in Black, literally, because they wear black. But what was that?
I don't even remember exactly what it was advertising for, but like if I just type in Spurs Men in Black, it says, it says the Men in Black refers to the custom-tailored all-black suits the San Antonio Spurs wore for Game 1 of the NBA playoffs.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
I'll write that one down.
Yeah, it's just a photo of like their 4 main players, or at least just some of them, and they're all just standing there with, sunglasses on. Like the Men in Black, I mean, that's their jerseys. Same colors as the Men in Black in the movie.
Yeah, so they're really pushing the alien thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is it's also happening in real life. That's the thing. We've done things like this in the past, but it's a nice theme, and you can laugh about it, but it's actually real life as well, which is unprecedented. It's quite unbelievable. So yeah, so Kodi, we can talk about the the NBA final, and I know Kodi will talk about he did the victory, the V. He talked about this, but he's talking about he'll expound on this, but it's about a movie, and it takes place in New York City regarding aliens. But I feel that there's another movie regarding aliens that takes place in New York City, and that's Men in Black.
And the other movie that I mentioned, it's just funny, because when I did my video about this, I said I did a video on Halloween last year about Victor Wembanyama and his connection to the World Trade Center, and then it ended up being that, well, actually at that time people had told me that the Knicks and the Spurs were going to be in the Cup final, or what is it?
NBA Cup, sponsored by Emirates, the NBA Emirates Cup.
Right, yeah. So it actually kind of manifested twice, because after I did that video, it ended up being that the NBA Cup was, the Spurs and the Knicks, and now here we are in the actual, finals. It's going to be the same 2 teams, and again. Most of you guys have already seen my presentation, how Victor Wembanyama is essentially the One World Trade Center. I mean, he's born as a symbol of that One World Trade Center. I mean, it's so clear at this point. And the finals will be taking place when he's 8,191 days old, which is the 1028 prime number, and the North Tower fell at 1028. He was born 846 days after 9/11. Which the first tower was struck at 846. And he was born 1 day shy of 846 days before the construction began on the new One World Trade Center. And I believe that they did that consciously 1 day shy because, well, I mean, he is the one, and it is the One World Trade Center we're talking. And again, the rule of Colel is definitely being used. So I think that's one of the things they did there. And then again, he was drafted when he was 7,109 days old, which is the 911th prime. And so, as I mentioned, and as Rambo touched on, and most of you guys have seen this, but the Vives miniseries shows aliens revealing themselves in New York. And I have never watched any of the series. There's actually multiple ones, but I have never watched any of them at all. I just basically read about them. So it'd be interesting to see once I get settled back in Germany, if I can watch some of these series and see what I see. But if anyone else has seen any of these series, definitely feel free to add. But like I said, you've got the V, which is in the phonetic alphabet is for Victor, and you got the aliens in New York. So you basically have a replica of this series. And another thing I had mentioned that really brought me to the idea that like solidified it was connected was that you just had the Knicks beat the Cavs, and the Cavs emphasized the letter V on their jerseys, specifically the jersey from 1983 where they debuted the orange and blue jerseys, which is the colors of the Knicks now, but the Cavs used to be orange and blue, and their logo is a V, which looks like a basketball hoop. And again, I covered that in my other video, but I believe that was consciously because the Cavs were the team that the Knicks had to beat to get there, and their star player is Donovan V, his middle initials V, Mitchell. And Donovan is the main character in the V miniseries. His name is Mike Donovan. And of course, the Knicks, in order to win that series, they had to be cursed by the WWE wrestler Donovan Danhausen. So they really telegraphed that by having a Donovan curse the Cavs, whose star is Donovan, which just points you right back to the V miniseries. I mean, it points you right to it because that's the main character's Donovan. And that kind of started me on this whole thing with the letter V after I realized that The Boys had just ended. Now, The Boys is basically focused on the letter V. Compound V is the... And interestingly enough, this all goes back to the Mustache Man in many ways, which I'm not going to really talk so much about here, but it does go back to that. But the V, I have a whole series coming up, another video eventually I'll have on the World Cup and how it connects to the orange and how it connects to the V, because there's a lot of stuff going on with that as well. But that's kind of a synopsis. Oh, yeah, Coded Dogs in the chat says another thing I forgot to even mention in my video is that, yeah, in the series, they come from Sirius. So there's a whole video I could probably do looking more into Sirius. Again, how important Sirius is. And remember, the Philadelphia experiment, which is a real life thing, connects to what I've talked about before with Sirius. There's theories that there's beings on Mars that are from Sirius. I won't go into all that, but I have talked about that before, so... and Victor reminds me of Mars and just this expansion type energy. But yeah, that's kind of the synopsis of what I covered. And I know Rambo's going to have stuff to add. So
if I could just say one thing too, in watching your video with this from this screenshot, you had pointed out, another thing that Dr. Savage, is reminding folks of is that the Wemby is the One World Trade Center, essentially wearing number 1. The last time the Knicks played the Spurs in the finals, it was in 1999 when you had David Robinson and Tim Duncan, as known as the Twin Towers. But you shared a visual that showed it said something that like Tim Duncan and David Robinson both averaged double doubles, and I don't know if that was for the full playoffs or for the finals itself, but that's like a double twin tower kind of way of looking at it. The twin towers both get double, average double doubles, and then it made me think about just the double V's, right? You were pointing out that wrestler who kind of puts up the two V's in the air, and then if you just put the two V's together, it equals a W, which is just kind of another word to represent victory, right? Or a win. And you have Victor Wembanyama, his initials. It's almost like three V's if you kind of look at it.
Yeah.
If you put them together.
Yeah. That's something I didn't really expand or look more into that, but that is something going on with that as well, because even if you look into the history of the V and the W, they're all kind of connected. The U, the V, and the W are all kind of connected when it comes to letters. And the U is interesting because the emphasis on the Spurs jersey is a U, but it kind of comes to a point, which kind of reminds you of a V. So
yeah, it kind of slants like a V.
The letter V is so important here, and I just kind of caught onto this because of the boys series. Like I said, it just ended that series, and so the V kind of. And remember when Obama went to the classroom, he also showed up, and it said on the chalkboard behind him, all about the V. So, of course, there's a lot of words that you could say. I mean, the vax, the virus, there's a lot of V's. But this, kind of reminds me of a V. It actually reminds me of kind of how the letter U and V are kind of synonymous, are kind of one. They kind of blended the U here with a point, which is kind of like turning the U into a V. And it kind of reminds me of the Francis Bacon cipher that Rambo brought to us, is that, the U and the V have the same value. And so, yeah, I think there's something to this. And the U, I think, represents a lot of things. I mean, in the United States, so, I mean, a lot of U's as well. So it's just interesting that one letter kind of led me down this path of everything that I've been going on lately. And like you said, I mean, the W also it looks like two V's. And I think this also does go back to William V, who will be our next king, will be the next king. Again, I told you the whole Seattle Super Bowl, which again connects to space too, because they have the Space Needle, was very connected to William, and he will be William V. That will be his thing. He'll be the fifth. So a lot of this does go back to him, and I will talk more about that when I talk about the World Cup, because there's one country in the world that has a very strong connection to orange, William, and the letter V. And I know most of you guys know that just by me saying that. But there's a country that will be playing on Trump's birthday in the World Cup that has those connections. So.
Well, and speaking of V and orange, did you know that there's a character in that show named V? Orange is the new black. Just something to take note of.
In the show Orange is the New Black, there's a character named V?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. No, I did not know that. Well, that just solidifies my argument even more. I did not know. I thought about that show. I've never seen it, but I thought about that show when I was researching, but I never looked into it. I had no idea there was a character named V.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
The reason that the New York Knicks wear blue, white, and orange is because that is the flag of the city of New York. They have a flag. It's a blue, white, and orange flag. The reason orange is on the New York City flag is because New York used to be a colony of a country that venerates the color orange that Kodi is alluding to. It used to be called New Amsterdam before it was called New York. It was called New Amsterdam. And the ruling royal house of Holland or Netherlands is the House of Orange. So when they colonized New York, before it was called New York, and called it New Amsterdam, that is how New York City got orange on its flag, and why the New York Mets, for example, they wear blue, white, and orange as well. It's because of the House of Orange, when it was called New Amsterdam, who colonized the area. The first Europeans to colonize it were of the House of Orange.
Yeah, and kind of when I think about, you know, all the orange stuff too, with Trump being, you know, highly connected with New York as well, being the orange man. And there was also that what was it? There was also that Supertramp album that a lot of people have pointed out. I've pointed out before about this too. I think a lot of you know this already, but there on the cover there's a lady, yeah, a waitress holding the orange juice. And if you invert it, it looks like the Twin Towers are being spilled over by the orange juice. So there's like, and it's called Supertramp. That's the band.
Yeah, Breakfast in America is the name of that
Right.
album. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Supertramp reminds you of Super Trump, which there's a song from Israel where they sing Super Trump. I don't remember the actual like how it goes, but it reminds you of Super Trump because there's that connection as well. And it's funny that Rambo has up the underdog thing here because it kind of reminds you of superheroes, and this all ties back into my Superman research I was doing before all this. I mean, one of the most famous aliens from space in fiction is Superman. So, but yeah, I mean, back to with the orange though, you know, it just kind of led me down this thing of all the orange, and yeah, I really think orange is going to be an interesting color for the World Cup. I mean, I'm not trying to make any clear predictions, but I think it is interesting too that cover is pretty much orange and blue. I guess kind of missed the blue part, but yeah, that's the cover I was talking about.
I think that image at the top there, Rambo, you just had was a pretty good zoom in.
No, it was only partial.
Oh.
And I know someone has showed that if you invert that or you flip that photo, the two letters above the Twin Towers there, it looks like a 9 and 11. You know, if you just flipped it, inverted it, mirrored it, you know, like the two letters, like just the way they're styled, it looks like a 9 and 11 above them. Even though that's not what they are, but it does look like a 9 and 11.
Yeah, if you mirror it, if you do like a mirror image,
right,
then the P will be over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it would be 9/11, right, in a mirror.
And I remember I did a decode on this like a year and a half ago or so, and it is interesting because there was some numbers that lined up. I think Breakfast in America equals 156. 9/11 is the 156 prime. So there's some numerical connections there as well. But just like I said, one of my next decodes is going to be like all about the color orange and Netherlands and all kinds of different stuff that I found on my history. And the one thing I won't reveal here that you guys will have to wait for, but the name of the song that Shakira made and how it connects to the orange kind of blew my mind. It really brought it. That's what really made me think, wow, there's really something to this orange here for this World Cup. And also, obviously, with Trump.
So I like to shout out one of my patrons, Duke. He is from Holland, but some people, when they pick their team, they'll say they're not being biased. He's been on Holland. I've just been communicating with him. He's been on Holland for months. 6 months ago, I think. He's been seeing the Holland or Netherlands coding for a long time. That's one of my patrons, Duke. Shout out to Duke. In fact, there's a mathematician out there who he's come up with a mathematical metric. He's correctly predicted 4 World Cups ahead of time using his mathematical metric. Let's see. He says, according to his metric, the Netherlands will win the World Cup.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I had seen this. I found out this after I was already. See, I don't know anything about, international football, really. I mean, I've never even decoded it. This is my first time. So when I started looking into all these teams, I was just naturally drawn to this V and this orange stuff, and it kind of led me to there. And then as I started looking into it, I started getting more and more confirmations of Netherlands, and I was like, okay. And then I found out that there's a guy that's predicted these World Cups, and he's actually on the Netherlands. And then I went. It's funny too, because I went to one of the CBS videos of this guy, and I went to the comments, and everyone doubts it. Everyone's doubting it. Everyone says Portugal's going to win. Like, everyone's on Portugal. I've noticed. And that seems to be a Cristiano Ronaldo thing, of course. I mean, they want him to win his World Cup. But yeah, it is interesting that he has, I think in his metric, he has Portugal versus Netherlands in the finals, I think.
Yeah, on paper, Holland do not have the best team. I mean, you can name a lot of teams that on paper are better than Holland. In fact, if you're just going with sheer talent alone, France by far has ridiculous amount of talent. But they are the favorites to win, just on sheer talent alone. But Holland does not, on paper, have that much talent. But in a knockout tournament like this, where you can be eliminated in a single game, it is possible that all you need is a reasonably talented team. And Holland is a reasonably talented team. They even have an important player to them, Xavi Simons, very important player. He was actually he played for Spurs, incidentally. Spurs of England, Tottenham Hotspur, they call Spurs. They have a player from Holland. The name was Xavi Simons. He was just coming into his best form of the season, and then he had an injury that was going to put him out for months. That's another reason people aren't really keen on Holland. Like an important player to them who was just coming into really good form is out of the World Cup. So they're already down a man. So that's why, if you're betting, if you want to bet, if you think, so this is one thing I would caution about things like this. You never heard about this guy, did you? His name is, then they take a long time to get to the guy's name. Okay. German economist, Joachim Clement. Now they're saying he's forecast other World Cups, and now he's all the rage around the world. How come you didn't hear about him before then? Why are you hearing about him now? If he's so good, why didn't you hear about him? Or even after the last time, you'd think you'd hear about him after the last World Cup when he predicted it, but you didn't hear about him. But now you're hearing about him. This is what they do. They never tell you ahead of time. They'll tell you after the fact. If you remember, the NFL had a Christmas party cartoon that they put out right before the NFL playoffs started. That was the year it was the Chiefs and 49ers, I believe, in the Super Bowl. And there was a clue in the cartoon that the NFL put out. It was one representative from each NFL team in the cartoon form at a Christmas party. And they all had their tops on, their NFL jerseys on, but then they all had regular pants or jeans on, except for 2 players. One, I think, was, I believe it was George Kittle of the 49ers. He had his game pants on with pads, as did Patrick Mahomes, and that was the clue as to who would be in the Super Bowl. Even They have another clue as to who would win the Super Bowl. Okay, so those two had their regular uniform pants on. The only two. Everybody else had jeans and, dress pants. Between Kittle of the 49ers and I believe it was Mahomes, they each they were opening a present. Kittle opened up a present, which was a puppy. Mahomes was opening up a present, which was a grown dog. So they were getting, so not only did the only two with full uniform on, they were getting similar presents of a dog, but one got a puppy, the other got the grown-up dog, which told you who would win. The one with the grown-up dog, that's the one who would win, and that was Mahomes. But they told you that after the fact. They didn't tell you that when it first came out, which is right when the playoffs started. Hey, by the way, look at this cartoon that the NFL has put out, and look how these two players are the only two who are in full uniform. No, they won't tell you that beforehand. It's up to you to notice. They'll tell you that after the fact. They did another one with the colors, Super Bowl, the colors for the logo, official Super Bowl logo, but they tell you after the fact. Of course, once they tell you, then people will notice that and say, oh, well, let's see what the colors are for the next Super Bowl. Of course, that doesn't predict it. They never tell you ahead of time. So this economist, Clement, he's somebody it's up to you to notice. If you haven't noticed him all these 3 years and his metric and his predictions, it's up to you to have noticed and cashed in. Now they're telling you about him, but they never tell you ahead of time, which is why I don't think Holland will win, because they never tell you ahead of, because now they're telling you. And there's a whole pattern of them doing this. They'll tell you, oh, by the way, we clued you in. And then you're like, oh, man, next time I'll look out for it. Well, they're never going to tell you. They never do. There's never been a history where they told you ahead of time. Now they're telling you, notice Clement and this great metric he's come up with. And how he's been successful for the last, 3 World Cups or 4 or something. Why did you tell us about him then?
Well, just really quick, I was just going to shout out JM for this interesting observation here. The Holland Tunnel, there's a Holland Tunnel in New York.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that. So,
yeah. So if you're going, so the World Cup final will be in the New York City metropolitan area, but it will not be in New York State. It will be in New Jersey. But it's right across the river. So to the west of New York City, separated by the Hudson River, is the state of New Jersey, but it's still almost like like a suburb of New York, even though it's a different state, even though it's New Jersey. And to get from, well, there are the 2 main tunnels. Well, there are 3. Well, the George Washington Bridge is one, and then there's the Lincoln Tunnel, and there's the Holland Tunnel. So the Holland Tunnel will be actually important to the World Cup final, because that's where the final will be. And to get from New York City, Manhattan, to the World Cup final, the Holland Tunnel will be one of the ways you get there. So the Holland Tunnel is very relevant. And think of a tunnel, it's underground, underdog, I'll just show you the underdog. The tunnel is underground, the Netherlands. So maybe they will win. I don't know. Netherlands, I'm thinking about it. Netherlands, nether means under.
Well, the thing that originally got me thinking about this is that the MV, there's your V again, the MV Hondius was like one of the biggest stories of the year so far. And this ship was a World Cup riddle in multiple ways. And, I didn't know anything about the World Cups really at all until I started looking into this. But the ship was a Netherlands ship. So there's your first clue. Then the guy who got the sickness from Argentina. So the last World Cup in 2022 was won by Argentina. The guy who got sick on the MV Hondius, the ship from Netherlands, was Leo, a Netherlands Netherlands person. He was from Netherlands. His wife, who was also from the Netherlands, she got sick. He died on the ship. She got sick and went off the ship to South Africa. South Africa is the last World Cup where it took place, where Holland was in the finals versus Spain. Where did the ship disembark? The Hondias in Spain. So I don't see how anyone can doubt that. This is clearly a riddle for it's at least, whether it's pointing to them winning or not, or even making the finals. Maybe it's just pointing to them making the finals. But it's clear that they're pointing to the countries that connect to this the most are the 4 countries that were involved in that ship. You got the Argentina, almost like, you guys get what I mean? Handing off the baton. The ship leaves from Argentina, right? That's where the last World Cup was. And of course, Leo Messi, don't forget about that. Leo was the first one to get the virus on the ship, and you had Leo Messi from Argentina who won the World Cup, the last one. And then you handed off the baton for the next World Cup, and then the ship disembarks in Spain. Well, of course, Spain equals 23 in gematria. That's interesting. It's the 23rd World Cup. But vanadium, the letter V element, is the 23rd element. So there's going to be something with the letter V and vanadium, I think. But anyway, Spain and Netherlands were in the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. This will be 16 years later from the 2010 World Cup. Well, this year there were 16 teams added to the field from the 32 that had been. And it will be 48. It will be the 48th world. It will be 48 teams. Well, Netherlands does equal 48. So there were 16 teams added to get to 48 teams. And something very important happened between Netherlands and the area that is now New York and New Jersey in the year 1648. So to me, that's a huge, interesting clue. In the year 1648, something happened on the grounds of New Netherlands, which is what they were calling it at the time, that connects that area of the United States with the year 1648. And that's why I think we might have had 16 teams added to get 48 teams because the year 1648 really connects to, in my research, to that area of New Jersey. And I will say,
Mr. S did just mention that Super Bowl 48 had the blue-orange team Broncos, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and that's another thing I've been thinking, is that it's the year of the horse. Everyone was on the Broncos, but the Broncos also have the same colors. And who's their quarterback? Knicks. And the Knicks have the orange and blue. And so, it's really interesting how even this Denver Broncos riddle is still there. Maybe the Broncos actually, and the logo for the Super Bowl next year, look at what color it has. It does have orange. They have orange on the Super Bowl logo color for next year's Super Bowl. And what's the day? Oh, what's the day of the Super Bowl? It's V-Day, Valentine's Day. So, there's also that as well. So yeah, you have an orange, kind of reddish, which is interesting because the Holland flag is it's red and blue, but their colors are orange and blue. So it's kind of an orange kind of molding into a red there. And then of course you have the green tidal wave. So yeah, that's interesting. And also one last thing I will want to mention. I'm going to stay on for probably about another 30 minutes or so, but another thing that's interesting about Netherlands and June 11th when the World Cup starts is that I've talked a lot about Cody Rhodes and wrestling. His dad died on June 11th. So it would be the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, died on June 11th. It would be Cody Rhodes' father's 11th anniversary of his death. Like New York is the 11th state. But Cody or the so Cody Rhodes' father's name is Virgil, and the Netherlands just happened to have two pretty star players on their team named Virgil and Cody.
Yeah, this is him right here.
Yeah, that's Virgil. And then another guy that Rambo actually had brought up last week that I didn't. The first time I ever heard about this guy was Cody
Gakpo.
Gakpo. And that's interesting too because Cody Rhodes' middle name is Garrett, so this guy has kind of the same initials, CGI, huh? CGI. But yeah, that is interesting. That's another interesting part is that since Virgil, Dusty Rhodes' name is Virgil, and the World Cup will be starting on his death anniversary, and it just happens to be that there's two players on the Netherlands team named Cody, which isn't a very. I mean, the Cody is not not that big of a name. You don't run past Cody often, so the fact that there is a Cody on the team, and also Virgil, so that kind of piqued my interest as well. And yeah, this Virgil, this guy. So yeah, Virgil Van Dijk.
Van Dijk.
Van Dijk, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess this is the captain, and so that's just kind of what I have for now. Like I said, I'll have like a dedicated presentation to expand more on all this, but definitely. I mean, like I said, I don't like to say because everyone always just wants to make it about betting, and I'm not. I don't even bet. I'm not betting. So I'm just looking at Netherlands and seeing a lot of these. But as soon as I saw this guy who has these projections, and I started seeing that, I found that I saw that after I was like looking deeply into the Netherlands. And again, I'm not a decoder of soccer, so for me to be led to Netherlands, it really just started with the MV Hondius and then the V's and the orange. That's kind of how I got there. But when I saw this, I started doubting it way more than I would have if I hadn't seen this. Like Rambo said, this is the kind of stuff that makes me not as strongly. This is one of the, actually, believe it or not, you would think it would be like, in normal circumstances, you'd think it would be like, oh, look, this guy's predicting Netherlands will win. But after what I've seen in this decoding community before of these things that are telegraphed like this, it's very it's not so not such a good thing, I guess is what I'm saying. And however, I did see a lot of people doubting it, so that's kind of a good thing too, to see that a lot of people don't believe it. Even he said it. He doesn't really believe it. I watched one of his interviews. He doesn't even really believe that they will win. So it is interesting that, in all the Williams stuff I did this year as well. The funny thing was this year I even had a whole decode, and I mentioned that to you, Rambo and AJ, after the Super Bowl when James Van Der Beek died. I said, this is all about Netherlands and William. And this was the first time I'd ever been led to a pattern about Netherlands or William. But it was clearly a pattern during the Super Bowl, William and Netherlands, because right after the Super Bowl, on the victory parade, V is for victory, there was a shooting in British Columbia of a guy with a Netherlands last name. And that's where I started saying, oh, this is interesting. I mean, how often do you get a guy in the news with a Netherlands last name? Not to mention, that was at the same time that James Van Der Beek died. And how often do you get an actor, a famous actor in the news that died who has a last name from the Netherlands? And this was also around the same time that Jake Paul and his girlfriend were being paraded around. Like every time I opened up YouTube or Twitter or X, all I saw was her during the Olympics. What's her name? Now I've lost her name. Judah Leerdam. Judah Leerdam was like everywhere during the Olympics because it was Jake Paul's girlfriend, and this was right at the time of the Super Bowl, and so this Netherlands thing was happening during the Super Bowl. So that's what really, there's a lot of strong connections for Netherlands. I'm just saying that. For them to win, I don't know. Maybe they make it to the finals, but again, my next video will cover in depth and I'll show slides, but that's just kind of what I wanted to touch on here. And I did want to also get the opinions of people like Rambo, and also I love to talk to the Illusion, because just get you guys' take on what you guys are seeing, because there's, whenever there's a sporting event, even though I don't know much about it, I do try to dig deep into it and try to see what I see. So, oh, and another thing I will mention is the Queen of Netherlands. She's from Argentina. So that's another huge clue, is that MV Hondius was coming from Argentina it's a Netherlands ship and was coming from Argentina. And somebody told me that Pope Leo, is visiting Tenerife in a few days. Or is it on the 12th? On Disclosure Day, the day this Disclosure Day movie comes out. Pope Leo is visiting Tenerife. And the ship disembarked on Tenerife. And that's Spain. And the last World Cup final Netherlands was against Spain. And there's something called the 80-Year War between Spain and Netherlands. And when is Netherlands' first game of the World Cup? Well, it's on Trump's 80th birthday. One of the most famous wars in the Netherlands and Spain connection just happens to be called the 80-Year War. And the World Cup is going to be right as Trump's turning 80. Mr. Orange Man. So.
Well, and did you mention the 80th NBA Finals?
Yeah. Well, I didn't mention that just now, but I mentioned that in my video earlier today. I made it because it all connects to what me and Derek from Gematria have been talking about with this year is going to be 666 years since the first eclipse from Saros 136. And in Gematria, the beast equals 136, 80, and 26. Like this will be the date 136, 26. And Trump will turn 80 the next day. So, and of course, Trump rides the beast. So, Van Halen, yeah, that reminds me of that. What were you going to say about that, Rambo?
So I brought this up several times before, and I believe that baby on the cover is Donald Trump. In fact, look at a picture of a 4-year-old Donald Trump. 4-year-old. It's a Donald Trump 4 years old. All right, and this is the baby on the Van Halen. Look at the hair. That's Trump's hair. And all these comparisons of Trump to the Antichrist. There's a lot of that popular, especially South Park really went off on that one with Trump being it's a baby Lucifer. In fact, a loose cigarette is called a Lucy. So this actually is a Lucifer, and plus this is a rebellious angel with the wings. So this is a reference to Lucifer, a baby Lucifer, but he looks like Trump. But if you look at what Trump looked like, that's the kid from the Van Halen album cover from 1984 by Van Halen.
Yeah, and Van Halen, right? That has to be, I don't know, that has to be a Netherlands or a Holland name, right?
Yes. Eddie Van Halen. You think of him as American, but no, he's Dutch. Eddie Van Halen. He is Dutch. Eddie Van Halen was an American musician and songwriter. He was the guitarist So he was born in Amsterdam. Early life. Edward Lodewijk. That's my best attempt. Lodewijk Van Halen was born in Amsterdam on January 26, 1955. The son of Jan Van Halen. I have a feeling they pronounce it Van Halen, I think. And Eugenia Van Beers. His father was a Dutch jazz pianist who also worked for the Dutch Air Force. I've been talking about the aviation theme as well. So yeah, he's Dutch. Eddie Van Halen.
Well, that's interesting too with the angel, because another reason that when that MV Hondius happened, I was all in April. I was talking about Apollyon, angel of the bottomless pit in Revelation 9:11. Well, you got the angel there, angel of the bottomless pit. And as you mentioned, Netherlands means the underworld.
Yeah.
I believe that the ship coming from the underworld of it was the lowest point on the earth, essentially. I mean, the end of the world is Ushuaia, or whatever that place is called. It was a symbol of the angel of the bottomless pit. And I covered that in April when it happened. And so you have this kind of this connection here with the Dutch, the angel, the angel Van Halen, and then the ship MV Hondius out of the bottom of the world, rising and disembarking in Spain, which, like I said, I mentioned Spain and Netherlands have that connection with the 80-year war. And of course their World Cup that they played in as well, which was 16 years ago. And like I said, the 16 teams added. So that's why I think there really is a connection this year to I just can't overlook how perfect the MV Hondius fits with the Spain World Cup and Netherlands World Cup in 2010. Like it fits perfectly. The ship got off in Spain, but one of the Netherlands ladies, she got off and went to South Africa, where the World Cup was in 2010. So
Argentina did play the Netherlands in the 1978 World Cup final. And you want to talk about a rigged, if anything's ever been rigged in soccer, I mean, this is it. The 1978 World Cup final, which is held in Argentina. It was between these two countries. So Argentina and Netherlands have their history as well. So Netherlands, they're the bridesmaid when it comes to World Cups. They've been one of the elite teams in the world for decades and decades. Not so much now, but they're still competitive. And they're always a bridesmaid when it comes to the World Cup. So they do have a connection to Argentina. 1978, yeah.
That's interesting too. It's the 1978 World Cup. That would have been the year of the horse, like we're in the year of the horse now. That would have been that's the year of the horse, because that's the year Kobe Bryant was born, and Kobe Bryant's born in the year of the horse. So that would have been another interesting thing, since we're in the year of the horse. It would be interesting to see who was in the 1966 World Cup, considering that would have been the last fire horse year.
I mean, England beat Germany in the final of that one. 1966. That's the only World Cup that England won. They beat Germany. I believe it was 4-2. Yeah, England won that one, and England hosted it as well. So I think there's riddles for England as well. In fact,
well, I mean,
yeah.
For me, with the whole William V, it would make sense. Like I said, I think this is really a lot about William, about William, Prince William. So that would also make sense. I mean, England. I mean, before I even sat down and started looking into the World Cup, I was thinking about England, and I was thinking about Spain, because Spain equals 23, and that was before I even started looking into. And I'm just learning about soccer and World Cups now. Like, I'm just in the beginning stages of my learning of all this stuff. So I'm learning something new about it all the time. So that's
So
JD Vance. Yeah, somebody mentions JD Vance. Vance has the V.
So V, it's very Dutch because van means from.
Right.
So Dutch names have so Van. So remember, you're talking about Donovan. So what stood out to me with the name Donovan was the last three letters, Donna Van. I think Van is a big issue. So if you saw my opening trailer, the trailer that I showed, what did I focus on from Men in Black? The van. It was the bug van, which has this giant cockroach symbol on it. It's the it was the Zappum van. So that was, right when they showed the scene of, if they show you the World Trade Center in the daytime, then at nighttime, the World Trade Center kind of fades away. Then at that same location, just two puffs of smoke. That's 9/11 coding for Men in Black. And then it cuts to the scene of the van. So van is actually a big part of it because it is a Dutch prefix as well.
Yeah, and that's what kind of, like, I was looking into The Boys and that show, and I had realized that they called it Compound V. And then I just like, okay, well, let me look at the periodic table and see what the V is on the periodic table. And I was like, it's vanadium. And then I noticed, it's the 23rd element. Oh, like the 23rd World Cup. Vanadium is the 23rd element. So then I was like, wait, what country has the vans? That was kind of one of the processes I don't remember exactly what I thought of first. All of it was kind of coming. And you know what's funny about this? I do got to say this. When I was having these orange revelations and these van revelations come to me, I was in this hostel I was in last week. And you guys won't believe it, but the desk that I was on in there, they had like one end table that I could use to like as my computer setup. It was a wholly orange desk. It was all orange. And I've been to a lot of places over the last couple of years since I've been traveling, and I've now had one orange. In fact, I looked around and I realized the whole room was orange. I mean, what's the odds? I didn't mean to do that. I didn't even realize I was staying in an orange room until after I was finding this orange stuff. And I wasn't even looking for this orange. Like, I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to try to decode orange today. But no, when I found all this, like 2 days after the fact, I was like, wait, I'm staying in a room that's all orange. So that was just, and then I realized the chat that I talk with my friends and stuff was orange. And I never realized that either. So it's just weird stuff going on with that. I even have pictures of it I can show on my decode when I do a video about my orange apartment I was staying in.
So I've also been in my decoding. I've been seeing the significance of William as well. So I know you have your William observations. I also have, I have William observations as well. I've been on that name. Well, I just got on that name. It is very significant as well. In fact, you'll see some of it if you see the video that I just showed the little promo for that I put up today on Patreon for patrons. You'll see in that video where William is very relevant, especially to the UFO thing. I'm coming more from the UFO angle, not so much looking at the World Cup, although it's all connected. Extraterrestrial William, and because who have I been talking about all year? William Shatner. I've been talking about him in multiple decodes because it started back since I've been on the aviation theme. William Shatner was born on March 22nd, and on his 26th birthday, William Shatner, who's most famous for playing Captain Kirk on Star Trek, on his birthday in 2026, on 3/22, there was an Air Canada flight which had a collision in New York City. Again, here we're back with the connection to New York City at LaGuardia Airport, where a Air Canada departing from William Shatner's hometown, the town in which he was born, which is Montreal. So it departed from William Shatner's hometown on William Shatner's birthday and collided with a fire truck on the runway in New York City of LaGuardia Airport. And so I was on William Shatner there. And which goes along with the whole space and aliens, Star Trek. I was focusing on the Chariots of Fires 226 in the reverse simple cipher, which is why 2026 is always going to be a big year for the UFO UAP issue, because that is what the Chariots of Fire in the Bible appears to be referring to. Elijah is taken up in a whirlwind in 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 11. 2 Kings 2:11. Elijah is taken up in a whirlwind to a chariot of fire in the sky. And that, what is that? That's Beam Me Up. That's right out of Star Trek, where you get beamed up. I've done so many decodes over and over emphasizing that. That's why 2026 is always going to be big. Also, Department of War, who's in charge of, and that's just a new name. It was always called the Department of Defense up to now. The Department of War sums to 226 as well. They actually has a double matchup with Chariots of Fire. So 2026 is always going to be a big with that. But William Shatner, so there's a big William, and I've been seeing a lot of William connections, especially with this issue of the chariots and the UAPs and UFOs, and the big one here. So where's this from? Men in Black? Who's the star of Men in Black? It's William. It's Will Smith. Same initials. William Shatner. Will Smith. WS is a major. You were just talking just real quick. You brought up the WOW signal. Remember that? You brought up the WOW signal.
Yeah.
How that's related to UFOs? Well, that's WS. WOW signal. William Shatner. Will Smith. Yeah.
Well, that WOW signal. Oh man, I have a slide on this. That WOW signal. The song that I covered, the song or the album that's coming out called WOW Signal by Muse.
Yeah.
It's coming out on the 26th of June. And that's actually an important day to William, because the last king of England that was named William the Fourth, that's the day he took over as king, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's the last day that's his day of ascension. And that's 23 days before the 23rd World Cup ends. And king equals 23. So what I'm saying is that from the last King William taking over, King William IV, the anniversary of his ascension, to the end of the World Cup 23rd is 23 days. King equals 23. So that seemed to fit perfectly. What's interesting about that is William, our current William, he's born just days before that. His birthday is June 21st. So the World Cup's going to be taking place on his birthday. So I actually haven't looked to see who's playing on his birthday. I should look at that. But
on June, on what day is that?
June 21st, William's birthday. But I mentioned before that the William is like, it kind of goes back to the I am, the will, I am will.
Yeah.
I've always said that's one of the most important names that there is, because it's like a really powerful name.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has I am and it has will.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've emphasized that in my couple of my decodes as well. That's why, because I'm on the William thing now. Will Smith, William Shatner, more from the UAP UFO standpoint, but I'm on the William thing. June 21st, Belgium is playing Iran. And
okay.
New Zealand is playing Egypt. Now, Egypt has that symbol. Egypt just speaks for itself, right? But New Zealand, the key with New Zealand is their star player, and their captain is somebody named Chris Wood. And he has a lot of symbolism, Chris Wood. Just from the name Wood, He plays for a team in England called Nottingham Forest, whose symbol is a tree. Their logo is a tree. What are the odds that Wood plays for Forest? And I feel that this ties into the killing of the king phenomenon, which is a ritual we've talked about, the killing of the king phenomenon. Think of that KK, 1111. Chris Wood wears number 11. 11 is a major number here for Nottingham Forest. I'm not sure if he wears that number for New Zealand, but Chris Wood, he's number 11 for Nottingham Forest, the killing of the king. That has to do with, here's another big WS, William, and a big William Shakespeare. So I'm really on this William, and also William S, Will Smith, William Shatner, William Shakespeare. The killing of the king from William Shakespeare's standpoint is Macbeth. Macbeth is about the killing of King, I believe, Duncan. Yeah, I believe the king's name is Duncan in Macbeth, King of Scotland. And Macbeth kills Duncan. He assassinates King Duncan. That's the killing of the king, KK 1111, which ties into the WS, William Shakespeare. Now, how does that tie into what I've been talking about? Chris Wood, he plays for Nottingham Forest. In Shakespeare, before Macbeth commits the murder of the king, King Duncan, he's very skeptical. He's skeptical that he can pull it off. His wife is the one, Lady Macbeth, is really pushing the whole thing. This is all William Shakespeare, WS. Huh. There's a lot tied into Shakespearean. This is just a small part of it. I mean, it's hard to see everything, but Shakespeare is huge. Nonetheless.
Yeah. I was just going to mention, Rambo, I was going to say that earlier and I forgot. William Shakespeare was another thing I was going to mention because, when John Cena retired, right? He retired in Madison Square Garden. So New York, New York Knicks. And John Cena's birthday is the day William Shakespeare was born and died, supposedly, April 23rd. So there was a whole riddle with John Cena and William Shakespeare when all that went down. And but yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I was just thinking of that earlier and I forgot to mention it. And it is interesting that you mentioned just another thing with the Duncan. Did you know that the Robertson clan is Clan Duncan?
That's a major Scottish name, Duncan.
Yeah, the Robertson clan actually is, if you read into it, it's the Robertson clan, which would be my clan. It's Clan Donna Caid, which is Duncan. So the actual Scottish name of the clan translates to Duncan. So my clan is actually Duncan. So it's crazy when you said that because, of course, this World Cup is going to take place with Scotland on my birthday with Robertson, the captain. So you could say that his last name is Duncan because, so maybe that will connect something with you too with your Duncan stuff because that, like I said, that's the clan. And what's funny too is that the clan Duncan, it has the word Don in it. Don, it's interesting because the founder of the clan Robertson or Duncan was the second son of Angus MacDonald. So even the MacDonald, even Donald has this connection. So one day I need to go to Scotland and hunt down my clan. But
well, Kodi too. Just don't forget about Tim Duncan, right? Going back to the Spurs.
Oh
things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you were talking a bit about the 22s, right? V being the 22nd letter, Wemby's 22. Well, there was some image I saw. It was crazy alignment with Tim Duncan. I believe he was 22 that year in 1999 when they beat the Knicks.
Was he?
I believe so. And basketball equals 22. Knicks equals 22.
Twins equals 22. Twins, 22 is a big number for twins. Twins 22.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a master number, 1111.
Yep. And V is the 22nd letter, and Wemby is 22 right now too, which is another reason why I think he's in the finals. because he's the V for Victor.
Right.
22.
Yeah, exactly.
So Duncan was 22 as well, huh?
Yeah. Tim Duncan was 22 that year. I'm pretty sure. I just want to throw one thing in there with just kind of everything you guys were just talking about. Looking at tomorrow with Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and with everything that Rambo's touched on, Kodi that you've touched on, and myself, we were talking about Will Smith. Well, he's one of his, I think, most popular roles was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? In West Philadelphia, born and raised. And you guys are both just talking about the King stuff. Don't forget, he was in that movie King Richard not too long ago, which was a tennis movie. And in tennis, you have love. But, well, speaking of which, check this out, you guys. So tomorrow is there's 3 national holidays that really stand out to me with everything we've been talking about for a while. So tomorrow is Love Conquers All Day, which I think is interesting. But then Rambo, this one stood out to me pretty quickly about the Alien movie and the egg.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow is National Egg Day as well. And before I'll pass it back off to you, Rambo, not only that, tomorrow is also World Bicycle Day with all the cycle symbolism and the chariot. So, I mean, all 3 of those national holidays to be falling on Game 1 of the NBA Finals, that's pretty impressive.
Don't the NBA Finals start? I think the NHL starts tomorrow, final, and then the NBA starts. I thought the NBA Finals started. I'm not sure.
They start tomorrow. Game
tomorrow.
1.
Okay. Tomorrow.
Yeah. So
I think
Bicycle Day, Love Day, and Egg Day.
No, yeah, that's. I'm going to write that down. Because the egg is related to the alien, and which this graphic is important. National Egg Day. Okay. The reason I put this up because people my age anyway remember this show, Mork and Mindy. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Robin Williams.
There you go. Well, good. Kodi got it. Thank you, Kodi. The egg. Look at the. So in Mork and Mindy, Mork by Williams. Again, I'm on the William thing. It's big with UFOs. William connects to UFO, and the whole of Will and I am. It's big with extraterrestrials. But just to give people an idea, this is from the late 70s. Mork and Mindy is an American television sitcom that aired on ABC from September 14th, that's Pope Leo's birthday, 1978, to May 27th, 1982. 82, that's when E.T. came out in 1982, came out on June 11th. So this was just a few days before, 15 days before E.T. was released. That's when Mork and Mindy. It's a spin-off after Highly.
Well, when Prince William was born, right?
One of the dates, I guess.
Well, not one of those days, but around that. He's born the 21st of June, 1982. So.
Oh, 82. Okay, yeah.
So he's born. Wait, this is 82, right? Yeah. So that's probably a code for him too. I didn't know that this came out in 1982 as well.
Yeah, this came out. This is when Mork and Mindy ended. It ended in 80.
Ended.
But it's almost like it passed the baton over to E.T. because it ended on May 27th. And then 15 days later, E.T. came out. It's almost like passing the baton. 82 also in the reverse Pythagorean cipher is Chariots of Fire's 82, like Department of War's 82. 82 is actually it's a significant code when it comes to this subject. But since AJ brought up National Egg Day in relation to the alien playing in the NBA Finals, and the egg in the Alien movie title, Mork and Mindy has the egg. And also last week, AJU found out about a soccer game in Italy that actually was interrupted by UFOs. Like, you can't make this up. A game
Yeah,
stopped.
Kodi, did you catch that by chance? I don't know if you had a chance to see that.
What is it?
Let me see if I still have the slide. But yeah, go ahead, Rambo.
No, I was going to tell him it's that the game in Italy was interrupted by a UFO sighting over a stadium in front of 10,000 people in broad daylight, which is, I mean, a great job finding that out, AJ. Like, you would think with what's going on now, even before this, that this would be a huge story. UFOs in broad daylight, yet that story is unheard of. But these are the hidden gems. If they want to publicize something or make something viral, or they want it on your consciousness, they will make sure that it goes viral, that even a whole bunch of channels, it could be a channel with like 600 subscribers. Yeah, them plus bigger channels, they're all part of the network because they'll reach different audiences and they'll make sure things become imprinted on the consciousness. For whatever reason, they don't want, I mean, you'd think this would be, it would be if they wanted to. They don't want that story out there, interestingly, but AJ uncovered it, broad daylight, in Italy, in front of a soccer audience above a stadium in the city of Florence, in Italy. There was a UFO sighting, but so what? Some of the cigars were, I mean, some of the UFOs were cigar shaped, the others were egg shaped.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, and I just measured from, the anniversary of the date of when this reportedly happened back to the start date of the World Cup, 138 days, just like unidentified flying objects. But the fact that they mentioned it was egg-shaped, yeah, Rambo and I kind of stumbled into that last week. Just, how fitting that we have the World Cup happening just shortly after the NBA Finals are starting with, starring the alien and all that kind of stuff. So starting on Egg Day,
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, especially, right now you got the WWE's in Italy. They're doing multiple shows. They did that one in Turin. They did 2 shows in Turin. They did their Clash in Italy. Then they did their the next day they did Raw in Italy the next day, and then on Friday they're in Italy again. So Italy is, and again, like I said, the Roman connection, and it is crazy that Pope Leo is going to Tenerife now, actually, just because Leo is the one who got sick, and then the ship went to Tenerife. Just so happens that Pope Leo's just happened to go to Tenerife. I mean, how often does a Pope go to Tenerife? So, yeah.
Sorry, but really quick before I forget, one thing I thought was interesting about what is it called? Mork and Morty?
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy. It's kind of like Eminem, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You remember the stuff that Myron was doing about the commercial where, he gets abducted by aliens, and this is like one of his visuals here. The kid Elliot from E.T. is from San Antonio, but yeah, I just want to point out the Eminem there with kind of that alien connection and the egg that we all just talked about kind of all ties together perfectly.
Yeah. I think the Kyle Busch thing there's a lot of stuff I missed with that. I didn't look deep enough into that. I did one decode on it and moved on, but I think there's way more to all of the Kyle Busch stuff that I didn't even touch on, probably.
I mean, the other main part that I shared with Myron was that the actual movie, it's Reese's Pieces, right? Reese's Pieces, whatever you want to call it, that Elliot uses to kind of lure E.T., but apparently they originally wanted to use M&Ms, but the M&M Corporation declined, essentially. But yeah, Mork and Mindy, M&M.
Well, aren't Reese's Pieces also orange?
Yeah, they are. They're like orange and brown.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. But they're more like I never was a big candy person, so I'm not really up to date with my candy, but I do remember the Reese's Pieces being like an orange.
So this is the egg. It's a big part of Mork and Mindy. His spacecraft was egg-shaped. It has kind of a reptilian theme as well. Reptilians hatching from an egg.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's in the V series that they're actually reptilians.
Yeah, this is egg-shaped spacecraft, Mork and Mindy, 1978. Oh, Escape from New York. Okay, I got to look into this. There's a movie Escape from New York. Now I got to look into that. But yeah, this is images.
There's a movie, Mork and Mindy Escape from New York.
No, that's a separate movie, which I'm just seeing now. I'm stumbling on it now. But it looks like this egg-shaped vehicle is part of that. This is interesting, isn't it?
Mork and Mindy aired on Pope Leo's 23rd birthday. Maggie sang.
That's when it started on September. On September, I pointed out it's September 14th when it first aired. It aired from September 14th, 1978 to May 27th.
Yeah, so Leo's 23rd birthday. Like the 23rd World Cup.
On Rambo, were you just pointing out the outfit that Mindy's wearing?
No, not the really the outfit. If that's what stands out.
Well, no. I mean, for me, it's just the colors. We were just talking about Reese's Pieces, and that is the colors of Reese's Pieces.
This is called the Gyan Mudra in the Vedic tradition. The mudra is a hand sign which your body has energetic pathways, and the hand signs they relate to different frequencies. So, I mean, I'm 57 years old. So I remember Mork and Mindy. I didn't know anything about the Gyan Mudra back then, which is also called the Yoni. Sorry, it's not the Gyan Mudra. It's the Yoni Mudra. Correction. Y-O-N-I. Yoni. Yoni Mudra comes from the Vedic tradition. It's very ancient. So when you see it done in modern times, it did not start in modern times. This is the Yoni Mudra. The Vedic tree. So it's not something evil. I mean, I don't know how, can't speak for everybody, what their intention is, but it's not evil. The Yoni Mudra helps to calm the mind by silencing the constant worrisome chatter in your head. It is the withdrawal of the senses that allows you to detach yourself from the world and grab that much needed pause. During these moments of silence, you can gain clarity and harmony of thoughts. It is a great way to get rid of distractions. But and I'm sure there'll be other explanations as to what it is. As you can see, it's mostly Indians, Asians performing it. It's called Yoni Mudra. But when I see Mindy doing it from Mork and Mindy, I don't know if she's doing it with the same intention as. But that's what it is. It's become popular, quote unquote, Illuminati symbol. But now this is before. So it's a very ancient symbol, Yoni Mudra. It just stood out when I saw Mindy here doing it. With the egg symbol.
That kind of reminds me too that the Indian flag does have orange on it.
Yeah,
orange and green, and that's the colors for the Super Bowl logo next year.
Yeah, orange, white, and green. Ireland has those colors. Also, Ivory Coast, West Africa has the same colors: orange, white, and green. Yeah, so it's Ireland, Ivory Coast, India. What do they all have in common? They start with the letter I. It's funny how that works out. But,
yeah, that's interesting.
You know, what stands out to me too is if you just search like Victor Wembanyama and eggs, it said it pretty much refers to his well-known love for San Antonio breakfast tacos. You know, breakfast and the eggs, right?
Oh yeah, breakfast in America. Oh yeah, it ties right in.
Yeah. So that's like his favorite thing to eat since he's been in San Antonio. Tacos with eggs in them.
I will say though, guys, I'm probably going to be dropping off here, just because it's already. I got to get some sleep.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm traveling tomorrow and have to wake up in the middle of the night tomorrow to catch my bus to the airport. So it's going to be once I'm home, I'll finally be able to have a routine again. So.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for making the sacrifice to be here. That is a great contribution. Sure, everybody appreciates.
Yeah, and I'll listen. I'll still be listening at least a little bit till I fall asleep, and then if I see anything, we'll definitely be in touch. And this week, and thanks to everyone in the chat for also being here. And again, make sure you guys like both streams. We got 2 streams running right now. Make sure you head on over to AJ's stream if you're not on his to give him a like over there. And but yeah, I appreciate you all, and thank you, Rambo, for all your great additions to my stuff, and also AJ for all you do. And can't wait to touch base next week when I'll hopefully have more time and more energy to do a decode. It starts raining. Can you guys hear that? It started raining really hard right when I started talking, but yeah.
Well, we
Thanks,
love you,
everyone.
Codes. The community loves you, man. And yeah, it'll probably. I don't know if it should probably keep running on your channel, but either way, yeah.
Yeah, it will.
The more support, the better.
Yep. Okay.
All right, Codes. You have a good night, man. Smooth sails.
Yeah. Take care, guys. I'll see you guys. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
And everyone else, have a good night.
Take care, man. Good night.
Rambo, one final thing about the hand symbolism you were just talking about. Shout out to you. You pointed this out in one of your later presentations about Wemby being the alien in Futurama.
Yeah, Futurama. Yeah.
Yeah, and
oh yeah, he was doing that. Yeah. I know what image. I know what image you're talking about. I know.
yeah. He was doing that image too, and well, wasn't I don't know if you saw this, but I'm pretty sure Wemby like spent time in India, like with monks and things like that, like during the off season or something like that.
I didn't know he did that. I had no idea he did that.
Yeah, for what it's worth. So yeah, let me pass it back to you.
This is what you were talking about.
Yep.
All right, it's taking a while. Anyway, yeah, it's this. It's this hand sign here. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar.
Well, like just search Wembenyama monk and just see what pops up. You'll see what I'm talking about. He was doing some kind of like training with monks or something.
Victor Wembanyama's connection to monks stems from his intensive off-season training retreat at the historic Shaolin Temple in China's Henan province. He immersed himself in the monastic lifestyle, focusing on deep meditation, extreme physical conditioning, and kung fu to build on his on-court resilience and balance. Yeah, he went to the Shaolin monastery.
They also show footage of him now like training with like Marines underwater and things like that. Which is kind of interesting when you think about the ideas of, you know, NASA and space and their training in water, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know about this.
Oh, I mean, you know, the last thing I'll mention, you know, unless there was other things you wanted to dive into, I can start sharing my slides. But yeah, if you just search Spurs Men in Black, you'll see the ad that I was talking about. And when I pulled it up earlier, they were saying it was the ad to advertise, you know, game 1 of the NBA playoffs. Yeah, there you go. Right down under images.
Oh, there'll be a story on it. The Spurs all wore the same custom-tailored black suits Sunday night.
I think the other image worth showing is the like the ad they did where they're all wearing the black sunglasses.
Oh, okay,
And,
yeah.
and it said Spurs Men in Black. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Tim Duncan's there. And have David Robin. Oh, okay.
Well,
so
yeah, time out. I was going to say, I just noticed that's what it is. So it looks like they actually did that back in the day.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
When the Twin Towers were doing their thing.
It looks like they're redoing what they did.
Yes, exactly.
Because Men in Black came out in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was like right before. So it's still like the hot thing, like a big blockbuster movie like that. Typically resonates for the next like 3 years or so. Yeah, so that was like the hot topic. So it does look like, they did do it originally. Very interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, kind of what the Spurs kind of wanted the Spurs to recreate this old school poster. Have the whole team in sunglasses surrounding Vic. So they did do that back in the day. With
which, like you said, makes sense. I mean, Men in Black came out in 97. 2 years later, they're in the finals. I forget, were they in the finals in 98? No, I think that was the Rockets year. Which is still kind of fitting. Excuse me.
You can do your presentation and I can continue with what I have, but you can do yours.
Okay.
And I might have some things that probably will, things that connect to what you present.
Sure. So what I really had tonight for you guys was just a couple of examples of predictive programming, so to speak, of what's been going on for over a year now. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel a little over a year ago, one of the first videos that I put out was this story about, I believe he was a high school kid by the name of Carmelo Anthony. This happened the same day last year that Carmelo Anthony, a former NBA Hall of Famer, was inducted in the Hall of Fame. You have Carmelo Anthony now, that this story released yesterday from TMZ. Carmelo Anthony faces murder trial in Austin Metcalf stabbing death. And it just kind of hit me. It was like, wow, like they held off to share this story right before the start of the NBA Finals, once it's been finalized, to now take this story to trial. And to me, the symbolism is right in front of your face. I mean, Carmelo Anthony played for a lot of teams, but he is, I would say, arguably best known for being a New York Knick. I mean, speaking of Orange, he won Syracuse, the Syracuse Orange. Their man, I don't know if it was their only title, but their first title and their only title since in a very long time, when he was a freshman at Syracuse. And we were talking about Denver, blue and orange as well. I would say that's the second team that he was most well known for playing for, at least in his prime. But think about that. Carmelo Anthony, and of course, he stabbed a kid by the name of Austin. Well, me sitting in Austin right now, that's interesting considering that Austin is home of the Spurs minor league team. So how perfect that this story, pretty much a year later, is now coming right back to the surface now that the teams have been finalized for the NBA Finals. And, let's not forget, you guys, that Austin Metcalf, part of this story was that he was stabbed in the heart. So you got the heart themes. The Spurs just defeated the Thunder, who are sponsored by Love's. But with the 9/11 symbolism, I mean, just think about Twin Towers. I mean, they seem like they're big boys for high school. But the whole story was that, Austin Metcalf's twin brother was holding him in his arms as he died after the stabbing. I kind of saw some conflicting photos. Some showed Austin here wearing that number 11, and they went to Memorial High School. Not to mention this tent here also shows a tent for Liberty High School. That's kind of interesting, like New York. But the 11s, obviously, and it got me thinking more about the recent death of Kyle Busch. And this, this whole story took place on like a track and field racetrack, so to speak. Obviously for running, not cars, but still relevant in my opinion, especially when you think about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo. And Kyle Busch's death was exactly 8 days before Carmelo Anthony's birthday this year. And the most recent car that he drove was number 8. And the 8 kind of symbolizes, you know, a racing track in certain ways. But this other one I touched on briefly when I was streaming with Myron and Golden Age a couple days ago once the Spurs clinched their spot in the finals. I talked briefly about a reality TV show on Netflix called Love on the Spectrum. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this show, but it's essentially, you know, a reality show of people that have been diagnosed on the spectrum trying to find love. So it pretty much follows these different people around going on blind dates and trying to find love. But check this out, you guys. I joked the other night, and I'm actually kind of serious now. The show Love on the Spectrum, I would argue, also predictively programmed the matchup of the NBA Finals. And I'll tell you why. The Love on the Spectrum show, there's a couple different versions. There's the Australian version. I think there's a UK version, but I'm referring to the US version, excuse me, where the golden couple, so to speak, in this season was a couple by the name of Madison and Tyler. And Madison's from California. Tyler's from Florida. They both live in Florida now, per the story. But just look at the symbolism and kind of the wordplay here. I mean, when you think about the Knicks and the Spurs, right? Well, the Knicks play in Madison Square Garden, right? And Madison always calls Tyler her cowboy sweetheart. And yeah, so he's always known for wearing a cowboy hat. And now apparently he's like going on tour and he's like a country singer now. But to me, I was like, as I was thinking more about this, I was like, Madison Square Garden. And I was like, wow, okay, well, he represents the Spurs, right? That's what Cowboys wear. And then when I started diving into some of the numbers and the alignments here, it kind of started creeping me out because I just looked up their birthdays. And sure enough, Madison, her birthday is September 22nd, which means tomorrow's game 1 of the NBA Finals, which equals 111, Madison Square Garden, where New York plays, it's a span of exactly 111 days. Wow. Wow. And then with the 9/11 themes, right? We know about Jalen Brunson wearing number 9. And the last time the Knicks played the Spurs in the finals, his dad played for that team wearing number 11. So you got those 9/11 themes. Or sorry, Jalen Brunson wears number 11. His dad wore number 9. Excuse me. But take a look at Tyler's birthplace as well as his birthday. Well, what are the odds that Tyler is from Madison, Mississippi? And his fiance's name is Madison. But we do the same measurement for his birthday, July 22nd. It's a span of 1 month and 19 days, just like Spurs and the Capitals added cipher. I thought that was quite an alignment, especially when we just looked at Madison with her 111 connections there. And kind of wrapping up the slides I had for you guys, I was just thinking more about players that are now in the finals. There is a player named Tyler Kolek. I think he went to Marquette for what it's worth. But he doesn't get a ton of playing time, but he does get some run that I've seen, at least with his stats in the playoffs. I think he averages like 4 or 5 points a game. He's had a couple games where he's playing a minute or two, but then he's had a couple games where he's playing 13 to 15 minutes. He's really best known for being a shooter, from my understanding. But I'm just throwing it out there. You know, Tyler, who plays at home in Madison Square Garden. And, you know, you guys have heard the phrase, home is where the heart is. Well, Tyler's heart is with Madison. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if, like, I don't know, Tyler comes in and hits a big shot, or something happens with him in the finals just because of, you know, the alignments that I've just shared with you guys with love on the spectrum. And in closing, when I was looking at the logo for Madison Square Garden, look at that, you guys. I mean, what does this look like? A UFO, right?
Yeah.
And the company that I believe funds Madison Square Garden is the Madison Square Garden Company. And you just look at that logo and it looks like towers with everything we've been talking about, the Twin Towers, 9/11, all those kinds of things. And if you guys haven't seen this, there's a lot of videos out there on it. And shoot, I should probably look up what is this called? San Antonio Tower Restaurant. But yeah, San Antonio kind of has its own one World Trade Center, so to speak, in downtown. It's called the Chart House. The Chart House. So this is a restaurant, and I believe it spins around like a UFO. And there's videos out there during, you know, the celebration parade when the Spurs did beat the Thunder. They did a lot more with this. They essentially turned this into a UFO, and they had lights beaming down from the bottom, and they've been having this big giant alien head floating right around next to it. It wouldn't surprise me if they're just going to have that up there for the entire playoffs or in the entire finals. But yeah, thanks for listening to my TED Talk.
Yeah, well, yes, that's certainly a main topic here that they're really pushing. It kind of looks like the tower looks like a beam. I think that's what it's meant to look like. So what it's supposed to look like is a UFO with a beam coming down. So
Right.
that tower, that's supposed to it signifies a beam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tyler
Yeah,
Robinson.
Yeah, I was going to say, good point, Stephen. Obviously, how did I not look into Tyler Robinson?
Think of the name Robinson, David Robinson, who was one of the Twin Towers for San Antonio.
Jeez, there you go.
Yes, so Robinson ties in, Tyler. And so Charlie Kirk ties into Captain Kirk, who I've been really stressing. Who's Captain Kirk? Is William Shatner. Beam me up. There's your beam. Similar themes.
Diana says, thanks for your TED Talk. But yeah, the whole idea of 2 into 1, right? 2 towers becoming 0, becoming 1. And then now I think you caught wind about this. I know Myron shared it with me that they also started construction of like a World Trade Center 2 or like a World 2 Trade Center, something like that is what they're calling it. It's not supposed to be completely finished until like 2030 or something like that, but either way.
Yeah, so
AIOM says Will Robertson from Lost in Space.
Okay, I'll write that one down. That sounds significant.
It definitely does.
Because William, and I've been seeing a correlation between the name William, like Kodi pointed out, William.
Right.
It's a very powerful name because it contains I am and will. Mm-hmm. And I've been seeing a correlation between that and the extraterrestrial theme. So what is his name again? Sorry. Will what from Lost in Space?
William Robertson.
Oh, okay.
Robertson from Lost in Space.
Yeah, because so I brought up Will Smith from Men in Black, William Shatner, Robin Williams, who's an extraterrestrial from the planet Orc. So yeah, that's how I got on the Will on William. There's a lot more on that that I have.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of these heart themes that continue. Shout out to you, Steven. You caught that. Yeah, Heart wears number 97. We talked about Men in Black, coming out in 97. Hart, H-A-R-T, plays goalie for the Vegas Knights, right? Nevada, Area 51, etc. Or, New Mexico. We talked about those 3 main states that all kind of coincide with extraterrestrials. But also, Josh Hart plays for the Knicks. He's part of the Nova Knicks. So you got that heart theme in there as well. This is, almost 2 years now running where can't get away from it. Oh, and you'll like this one, Rambo. You know how I talk about Cooper all the time and how it's just like I can't get away of his connections? Guess what his birthday is? His birthday is Neil Armstrong's birthday.
Whose birthday?
Cooper.
Oh, Cooper's birthday.
Cooper's birthday is Neil Armstrong. Neil A. Alien. So I'm like, oh my God, Cooper.
That's a
just
big.
Keeps coming.
Yeah,
Serious,
Cooper,
right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's since you brought that up, Neil Armstrong's birthday. That's a big date. Considering so it's August 5th, right? 8-5. It can be 5th August. I've been pointing out the 8-5s and 5-8s, which are very big to this code. A big 85 is these are mythological deities from the ancient Sumerian pantheon. Across the board, Sumerologists and Assyriologists who focus their expertise on that region, Sumerian and ancient history of Babylonia, Acadia. Across the board, they do not accept Sumerian mythology as indicating extraterrestrials. But there are those who do. It's primarily based off of the work of Zecharia Sitchin, but there are some people who independently look at things, but who think that it might. Nonetheless, that is coded into the events that we have. Yeah, that's a great one. San Antonio. But look up Anunnaki. That's in the simple cipher, English ordinal. It's ANU and then double N AKI. That's a big 85. And that's Neil Armstrong's birthday, who's Neil A, alien. That's also Patrick Ewing's birthday. Patrick Ewing, he's the one who played. He was the star of the New York Knicks the last time that they faced the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Final, 1999. They were led by Patrick Ewing.
He was kind of the one World Trade Center in a way, wasn't he? I mean, they had like big boys. The Knicks had some big boys, but like Ewing was kind of towering over everyone. I would, from what I remember.
When the New York Knicks first drafted Patrick Ewing from Georgetown University, they already had a center, and his name was Bill Cartwright. When they drafted Patrick Ewing, they had two centers. They were called the Twin Towers. I mean, you might look up that graphic, New York Knicks Twin Towers. Patrick Ewing, Bill Cartwright. So yeah, he actually was part of New York. Yeah. That's Bill Cartwright, and Patrick. Yeah, so he was part of a Twin Towers tandem. So that's what. Of course, they posed by the Twin Towers for Sports. Was it Sports Illustrated? I don't think it was Sports Illustrated. There's another magazine, but yeah, they were billed as the Twin Towers. So that's what he was part of the Twin Towers. But you look at Patrick Ewing's birthday, it is August 5th, that 85 number. August 5th, that's the 85. What else happened? Oh, Neil Armstrong, yeah. August 5th. What else happened on August 5th? 85. Look at the World Trade Center. When was groundbreaking for the World Trade Center? When did that happen? Groundbreaking ceremony. It's a big ceremony for the World Trade Center Twin Towers.
Wow.
August 5th.
Oh my God, man.
It's a major day. So you brought since you brought
it's
up
Cooper's birthday, man. It's just I never there was never really anything to bring it up about in the past until it's like, all right, well, new year. And now here he comes again.
Who did the San Antonio Spurs have to defeat in order to get to the Western Conference Final against the Thunder.
The Timberwolves.
And who's the big star, one of the biggest stars in the NBA of that team?
Anthony Edwards.
What is his birthday?
Oh my God, that's right.
August 1st.
Jeez Louise. So many August birthdays.
And where's he? Yeah. So what? So the Ant-Man. So this is a big part of the theme. From what
if I can say one more thing, like another 5-8 dates, like flipping that is May 8th, and that's the date that Pope Leo officially became Pope.
Right.
So you got those connections.
So yes. So I was talking about May 8th as well, because it was on May 8th that Frontier Airlines had the accident in the Denver International Airport.
And then you measured it back to 2014, the last time the Spurs won, right?
I have the graphic up on my screen.
Perfect.
If you want to see it clearly, it was Frontier Flight 4345 aborts takeoff after striking person on runway at Denver International Airport. It's Flight 4345. So I said, let me look at 4345 days before this happened. See, on the night of May 8th, 2026. Now, the interesting thing about this date, this is the same date on which, the very same day, May 8th, 2026, the United States government, through the Department of War, released its first set of UFO UAP files. Was on this very day. It's the same day that Frontier, and what does Frontier refer to? Space, the final frontier, the iconic opening lines of Star Trek, which are, it's William Shatner who actually says those opening lines. That's from William Shatner. He's very relevant right now. Frontier. So I'd pointed out in my latest decode of how, it's on my channel on Patreon, of how this past Saturday, you had the final of the Champions League of soccer, of the European Champions League. All the best players in the world play in Europe for the European teams because that's where all the money is. So the annual Champions League is actually the biggest prize in soccer. It's the Super Bowl of soccer. So the final was Paris Saint-Germain versus Arsenal. And you'll never guess who Paris Saint-Germain's biggest celebrity fan is, who grew up actually attending games in their stadium. Well, somebody born in the Paris area who grew up in Paris, who's the main star right now of the show, who played Game 7 the same day of this. This was the final. But so this is the Times of England. It used to be called the Times of London. It's the Times, one of the oldest newspapers in the world. It's 240-something years old newspaper. This is mainstream. They headlined this, The Final Frontier. Now, I'd been talking about Frontier, The Final Frontier, William Shatner, Star Trek. I've been talking about it the whole time, and this is confirmation from the mainstream that it is a thing. This has nothing on the surface to do with soccer. What does The Final Frontier, famous from Star Trek, have to do with Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal? Really, what does it? But for those who follow my work, that's all I've been talking about. And I've been saying it's relevant. And it just validates my work because I've been saying William Shatner. There's the accident in New York City at LaGuardia Airport on William Shatner's birthday, 3/22, with a Air Canada flight that originated from William Shatner's hometown, which was Montreal. So I've been talking about Beam Me Up and Elijah in the Bible, of being taken up in a chariot of fire. Chariot of Fire 226 is 2026, and Beam Me. I've been talking about all of that this year, and then they come out with The Final Frontier. I don't know what their justification is, but I do know on the occulted level what it is, because what I talk about on my channel is how the events of history and of modern times, contemporary times, are based off of the occult. And this confirmed it. It's all occulted. It's hidden. This confirms it because on the same day, the alien was playing in the NBA final. This is his favorite team growing up. He used to go to their games at the Parc des Princes in Paris. So he's their biggest celebrity fan. Well, they were playing, and this is their headline, which justifies what I've been saying: the final frontier. Now, for most viewers who see this, they think, "Oh, the final frontier refers to the final. It's about the Champions League final." Yeah, but there are Champions League finals every year. There are FA Cup finals. There are cup finals all over the place. There have been World Cup finals, and I follow soccer. I've never seen the final frontier for a final. I've never seen it before. You say, "Oh, it's about the final." Yeah, but what about Frontier? Why are you making the Star Trek reference? Well, I know why they're making the Star Trek reference and the whole Alien and Wembanyama thing, because he played the final Game 7 on the same day. And look how this is a star player of PSG. He's from Georgia, Kvaratskhelia. I think close enough pronunciation I can get. How he's wearing number 7. That's interesting, because on that day, Game 7, the final game of the Western Conference Final, by the biggest PSG fan in the world, their biggest celebrity fan, I'd say, was playing the final Frontier. So going back to this, it was Frontier Airlines in Denver International Airport, flight 4345 on May 8th, the same day, exact same day that the U.S. government released the UFO files. So I said, let me look at 4345 days before May 8th, this big 5885 date. So I went to the calculator, gematria.com. So May 8th, 2026, 4345, that's the flight number, 4345. Days before that is June 15th, 2014. That's what this connects to, this flight number and Frontier. And I explained how Frontier, the final Frontier, Star Trek, and how this happened the same day that the alien Victor Wembanyama of San Antonio Spurs was playing Game 7. He's a fan. He grew up actually attending games for this team. Well, 4345 days before that was June 15th, 2014, which is the last time that the San Antonio Spurs won the NBA title. It was over the Miami Heat at the time. So that's how that 4345 and this date, 58, ties in. So 58 is huge. That's a really big, it adds to all the 58s, the Neil Armstrongs, the Anthony Edwards, the Patrick Ewing, 58, May 8th. And Anunnaki is the big one. Anunnaki. That's the Sumerian pantheon, but they're still quoting it. Whether and no Sumerian that I'm aware of, I don't know if any Sumerologist with a PhD, a doctorate, will say that refers to ancient aliens. But there are some intellectuals. There's a Vatican scholar who's Italian. It was Mauro Bellini. I think it's Bellini, his last name, Mauro Bellini. He's a Italian Vatican scholar. He used to work for the Vatican, and he had access to some of the files or works in the Vatican library. And he was of the opinion that the Old Testament refers to physical beings. So a lot of his findings actually do tie into the ancient alien theme. So that is actually an actual scholar, a Vatican scholar, Italian, Mauro Bellini, who does actually. There are some scholars who actually do. Don't say definitively, but it does tie in. He determined that the text of the Old Testament is based on ancient Sumerian texts, and he had access to the Vatican library. The Vatican let him go after that because it didn't jibe with Catholic doctrine, because the angels that they were referring to, like he said if you look at the narratives of angels, they're referring to physical beings, and what he took away from his scholarship of looking at the files was that the angels in the Bible and ties into the ancient Sumerian texts, and they're referring to physical beings. But the Vatican did not feel that interpretation was compatible with Catholic dogma, and then they released him as an employee with the Vatican after that. But there are some scholars actually do look at the Anunnaki narrative, and they do think that the ancient alien narrative has some validity to it. I'll put it that way. But the 85, it's coded into so many, whether you believe that or not, it's still coded they quote unquote are coding it into world events. Like, and this 85 is huge. That's why you're seeing all this 85. It goes back to Anunnaki.
And basketball equals 85. And shout out to BPM for just pointing out that the Spurs played their final regular season game versus Denver. So for kind of a final cherry on top with what you were just showing.
Yeah, you know, Denver is stooped, and especially the airport is in the middle of all of this. So yeah, I did this just to show the significance of how this 85.58 is immense. It goes back to Anunnaki. I've shown this many times, how on the World Trade Center, it had tridents in the architecture. But you have to see that from ground level. The trident is a symbol of Neptune, who's the Roman version of Poseidon. Greece and Rome did not create that archetype of Neptune and Poseidon. They're all based on an original archetype. And that original archetype is the Sumerian god Enki. Now, when you have original archetypes, then you have analogs of that archetype through multiple cultures, they won't always stay 100% the same. There'll be differences. But the main thing is that Enki was an ocean god, a god of the waters, who was depicted with fish and water streaming from him. And that's what Neptune and Poseidon are. They're ocean gods. And Neptune, the planet Neptune, is the ruling planet of Pisces. Pisces has two ruling planets, Neptune and Jupiter. This ties into Pisces. That's why they had Osama bin Laden as a Pisces, the one who brings down the tridents. All those tridents are on the World Trade Center, Twin Towers. The one who's supposedly the mastermind of it, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto, long before 9/11, and she's the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Pakistani intelligence, they're fighting in Afghanistan. They say that Osama bin Laden was part of the Mujahideen. And the Pakistan Mujahideen was at war with Pakistan. So if anybody would be in the know, it would be the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who has intelligence from the Pakistani, because they're right there fighting against the Mujahideen and Osama bin Laden. Benazir Bhutto actually said in an interview, I believe it was the BBC, it might have been some other channel, but a British network, most likely BBC. She said that Osama bin Laden was already dead. This is coming from the Prime Minister of Pakistan. She had said he was already dead. This is long before 9/11. She ends up being assassinated after that. And of course, the BBC interviewer, because at the time, bin Laden was one of the world's most wanted. 9/11 hadn't happened yet, but he was one of the world's most wanted. Now, when the Prime Minister of Pakistan says that, not a conspiracy channel, you would think the interviewer would say, well, hold up here. The top intelligence services of the world internationally have made him the number one fugitive, and now you're saying that he's dead? Well, let's expand on that. He didn't. He froze. You could see it made him uncomfortable. He's a very renowned, I have to look his name up. He's a very renowned journalist on BBC. He froze and didn't say anything. She just dropped a bomb on like Osama bin Laden, the world's number one fugitive, has been dead. And he didn't say a thing. He just froze. Well, she ended up dead shortly after, assassinated. They have these rules. You're not supposed to say certain things. Well, all these videos of Osama bin Laden for 9/11, they were old footage. There was not current footage. They were making it out like the Al-Qaeda had this media service where they're just doing updates, and bin Laden would do an updated video to the world. This is straight out of Hollywood, like a B movie, where the world villain, releases a video to the whole world. You have to all interrupt your broadcast to see the world's villain give his updated speech, which you have to decode and decipher. It's a hidden threat to the world. And then he does his evil laugh at the end. And then the world trembles until the next video. That's what it was like out of a B movie. That was old footage. And I take her at her word because she would know better. And he was already dead. That was old footage from when the Mujahideen were fighting the Soviet Union. And it was known fact that bin Laden, who's from Saudi Arabia, his family, he was estranged from his family. The bin Laden family has the biggest construction company in Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest construction companies in the Middle East. They actually poisoned him. They were trying to kill him. They tried to kill Osama bin Laden. And he ended up, it did a lot of kidney damage to him, and he needed dialysis. Anyone knows what the nature of dialysis is. You can't be hiding in caves when you need kidney dialysis, which bin Laden was on. None of that made any sense. Those are old footages, but he's a Pisces. They chose him because he's a Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is Enki, the water god. Neptune's symbol is the trident. That's why they have the tridents on the World Trade Center. It was a destruction of Neptune, but it was the destruction of the original archetype of Neptune, who is Enki of the ancient Sumerian pantheon in Gematria, the simplest cipher, A through B, 1 through 26, Anunnaki, sums to 85. That has everything to do with it. That is why the groundbreaking was done on 8/5. That was done. That's not organic. That is not. There's nothing organic about that part as to why they chose to do groundbreaking on August 5th for the Twin Towers and why they chose to put tridents in the architecture. That's the war of the gods. So,
well, and Rambo, really quick, I just mentioned in passing that basketball equals 85, and I've talked a bit about how the basketball has the Pisces logo in its design. Right?
Yeah, that's a great observation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great observation. That might be more organic because then now you have to say how far back are they going with this? But
yeah,
when they invented basketball, but it's amazing how the basketball. That's a great observation, and that's why they made bin Laden. They needed but this is straight from the horse's mouth. Don't go by what I say. What was the U.S. government's operation to capture Osama bin Laden? What did they call that operation? This is them doing it, not me. Here, this is a dramatic moment when they had live footage of the compound in Abbottabad in Afghanistan. Live footage. They were live streaming the special Navy SEALs. There is Joe Biden, Osama bin Laden, Hillary Clinton. It all looks so dramatic. This is straight. This is scripted. This is straight out of Hollywood. This is live footage of them on that compound getting bin Laden. But what was the name of the operation? Don't take my word. She's coming from them. I'm just the messenger. It's Operation Neptune Spear. That is Operation Neptune. That's from them. They're telling it. And who is the big bad guy they were getting? Osama bin Laden, who is a Pisces. Pisces ruled by Neptune. Neptune symbols the spear. And just to clarify,
really quick, Rambo, before I forget this observation, can you go back really quick? Just scroll back down.
On Operation Neptune?
Just hit forward. Yeah, scroll down. Just that small little blurb right underneath Operation Neptune Spear. It says 2 helicopters piloted by U.S. Army aviators transported 23 SEALs. We were just, we've been talking a lot about 23, being a huge number right now. And a combat dog to carry out the raid.
That dog was serious. Yeah, that was the other thing. Yeah. We know what that is.
Right.
I'm curious what the dog's name is. There'll probably be some. Let's see if they look at SEAL Team 6. Yeah, I wonder if what was the name of the dog of SEAL Team 6 that captured
during Operation Neptune Spear?
Yeah, okay. Operation Neptune Spear. They may or may not have it. Let me see. The name of the military working dog that accompanied SEAL Team 6 during the operation, Cairo was his name. He or her, I don't know. Cairo played a critical role in the 2011 raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. His primary duties included searching for explosives and booby traps, securing the perimeter around the compound, sniffing out hidden spaces, and preventing insurgents from ambushing the operators.
Look at the handler's name.
Will Chesney. Chesney, a country singer. Chesney, when I think of Chesney, there's a big country singer named Chesney. And Cairo operated together on hundreds of missions during the global war on terror. Yeah, so there's your Sirius symbol. Cairo is his name. Him or her. They don't say the gender of if it was a male or female dog. But yeah, Cairo. Well, Cairo, the Canine warrior, helped capture bin Laden. Cairo's heart-pounding tale is one of a fearless warrior who bonded with Navy SEAL Will Chesney and played a pivotal role in the capture of Osama bin Laden. But they're still not saying if Cairo is a male or female, because Sirius is associated with a female, the star Sirius. And of course, I've talked about this number over and over again. People who followed my work, the star Sirius becomes invisible for 70 days every year. That's because Sirius is fixed, the sun is fixed. You can see Sirius. Sirius is visible from Earth until the Earth moves behind the sun, where Sirius is blocked, because the sun and Sirius they're fixed. They don't move. When Earth moves behind the sun, Sirius is behind the sun. That's when they call it the sun behind the sun, which is a very sacred time for Sirius. It's actually why they chose July 4th for United States independence, all based on Sirius, because they say that metaphorically, at that point when Sirius is behind the sun, because Earth depends on the sun for life, the power of Sirius it emanates onto the sun and then onto Earth, while Sirius is behind the sun behind the sun. And on July 4th, the alignment is perfect between Earth, the sun, and Sirius. It's called a Sirius-Sun conjunction. Well, Earth will move, and then Sirius will become visible again when it's no longer obscured by the sun, and that's called the heliacal rising of Sirius.
And I don't know if you saw this, Rambo, really quick. Casey Jones Astrology mentioned that there's an eclipse over Cairo next year.
I talked about that. I talked about the path of that eclipse. It's going through the Twin Pillars.
The one on August 2nd.
The path of that eclipse goes through the Twin Pillars, the Pillars of Hercules, at the Strait of Gibraltar, which is amazing. Yeah. It makes a bullseye right between the Twin Pillars, and then makes a turn and goes right over the Pyramid of Giza, keeps going down and goes over Mecca. That doesn't even seem like... That seems like something that will be consciously controlled by a human, but it's not. It's dead center between the Twin Pillars. And then this curves, goes over the pyramid complex, and then goes over Mecca. That's phenomenal. I believe that's August 2nd next year. But Sirius, the heliacal rising of Sirius, happens 70 days after the heliacal setting of Sirius. Sirius is behind the sun for 70 days out of the year, which is why 70 is a sacred number in Sirius coding, which is why Michael Jordan had a $70 million private jet. Michael... Now, the reason they chose that number, inside Michael Jordan's $70 million private, why did they choose 70 million? Because he's a Sirius symbol, because he was born with Sirius ascending on the eastern horizon when he was born in Brooklyn, New York, 1963, February 17th, 1:40 p.m. he was born. That's why they attached to 70, because he's a Sirius symbol. The Chicago Bulls, during their dynasty, their intro title song was Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project.
Well, and you showed that Allstate commercial last year, right? With the dog in the car.
And remember what they said in the Allstate.
He was
commer-
what? Wasn't it like he's like a 70-pound?
Let's look at that. Allstate Tina Fey commercial. Let's see that.
I'm your mother-in-law, and I like to question your every move, like this left turn.
It's the next one.
Okay, no, that's not it. Tina Fey did. Yeah, Tina Fey did. She did that commercial, but he was a 70-pound dog. I have to. I can look that one up.
Yeah, I think it was, if you just type in Allstate dog car, 70-pound
dog. Tina, because Tina Fey is a big part of it. Allstate, Tina Fey, dog. Okay. Saint Bernard, that's what it was.
There we go.
Saint Bernard.
I'm your 70-pound Saint Bernard puppy, and my lack of impulse control is about to become your problem.
No, come on. I saw you eating poop earlier.
Well, you get the idea.
Yeah.
These are award-winning commercials. I give them credit, but so that's the 70s. So there's it's based on Sirius. The dog's 70 pounds. So Michael Jordan, he's the Sirius symbol, and he's 70-pound. There's another story too of a reporter got 70 stitches from
being bit by a dog.
Yeah, on I guess it was a TV Live. News anchor bitten by dog received 70 stitches, mouth stitch. So this was I think it was live. She's being real nice to the dog, thinks the dog is cute, and then the dog just bit her on the face. But this is the key: 70 stitches. The dog, Sirius. Sirius is behind the sun for 70 days. Michael Jordan, the Sirius symbol, born with Sirius Assembly, he used the song Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project for his Chicago Bulls dynasty as their intro. He has a $70 million private jet. Allstate has a St. Bernard. Again, the dog. Sirius is the dog star. St. Bernard, 70 pounds. I said all that to set this up. Chesney served for 13 years during post 9/11 operations and formed a bond with Cairo while working as a dog handler in 2008. They didn't click immediately, though. Cairo was a standoffish 70-pound Belgian Malinois.
My goodness.
They stick to these rituals. They're very important rituals to them. I think I can end on that note.
No, I think that's a great mic drop.
Yeah.
Seriously. I didn't even realize the connection. When didn't Obama do the mic drop thing?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, that was fantastic. That was a good recap and good, kind of stumbling into that as we were diving deeper into who Cairo was. Of course they got to have the dog in there when they take down Osama.
Yeah, a lot of people make that mistake. But again, Cairo does tie into Obama. We talked about Freeman Fly. To me, that's the greatest decode I've ever seen in my life, is Freeman Fly's decode of it's about cloning and how ancient, and he even referred to a New York Times article that showed you the University of Uppsala in Sweden successfully cloned a cell from an ancient Egyptian mummy. And it is credible that Barack Obama could be the result of a cloned mummy, and that would be the mummy of Amenhotep IV, aka Akhenaten. And when Barack Obama was president, American Pharaoh won the Triple Crown of horse racing. American Pharaoh, who are they referring to? That's a great work of Freeman Fly, Freeman TV. I recommend. For me, that's the greatest decode I've ever seen. And it's backed up. He backed it up with things like facts. How cloning happens. Cloning is done through the genetic information that's in a single cell. That's how they cloned Dolly the sheep. That's mainstream. They took a single cell from Dolly the sheep's teat, her mammary. And that's the reason they call her Dolly, because Dolly Parton is known for being large-breasted. So that was their little thing. And from a single cell, they were able to clone the full organism. So the mummy that was cloned by the University of Uppsala, and again, they don't tell you they can do these things as soon as they do it. if the University of Uppsala is doing this in 1985, that doesn't mean they first discovered this in 1985. They could clone before that. They don't just tell you right away with these things.
Speaking of the 85s.
Yeah, it was 1985 when that article came out in the New York Times. This is all the work of Freeman Fly. Give him credit. That's huge. And so wink, wink, American Pharaoh wins the Triple Crown. And now wink, wink, the dog's name is Cairo, who's the president at the time that Cairo's the hero. Obama, get it? Egypt, Akhenaten. That's what the credibility to that. Why they call the dog Cairo. So again, yeah, and Sirius, which is a sacred to many cultures, but especially that of ancient Egypt. In fact, the mummification process, which the mummification process is why you're able to clone mummies, is because the mummification process preserved the cells. Because they wanted to be brought back, but they didn't think that, well, if you're brought back, you'll be a slave of the people who bring you back. They didn't think that part. And plus, if you're brought back, you're not really being brought back. Your physiology is being brought back. Your soul is not in that. It's just a clone of your body. Your soul is not in it. So what do you care? What do I care if my clone is brought back in 2,000 years? Unless I got to do with me, there'll be some other soul in the identical physiology of. Well, I'm not going to get anything out of that. I mean, but plus I wouldn't want to anyway, because at least I understand. I mean, as genius as the ancient Egyptians were, it didn't occur to them. Whoever brings him back, they won't bring him back and say, "Oh, hail the Pharaoh, you're in charge." No, they won't. You'll be their slave. You won't trust them to just give you power. I think they have the power of God because they brought him to life, if anything. Now you'll have to look up to the people who brought your body back. It's not even you. You're not conscious. You're gone. You're in the multidimensional spirit realm. That's just your body. I mean, I don't know. The ancient pharaohs didn't compute with them. Nonetheless, that's why they preserved cells, because they had the understanding that in the future, you will be able to clone the entire organism and they understood that, which I'll give them, they're geniuses for that. But I think it's common sense that, yeah, but that's just your body. You won't have your memory. You think Obama remembers everything Akhenaten remembers? No, I doubt it. He's a different person. So he's a different, in essence, spirit. If this is what happened, it's probable, I believe. But if that's what happened, the spirit of Barack Obama that's operating his avatar, which is the avatar of Akhenaten IV, maybe, it's a completely different spirit. It's not Akhenaten. So whoever Akhenaten is, he's in the multidimensional realm looking at this, saying, "Oh, I thought I'd be in that." And who's to say no? Plus, yeah, again, I mean, anyway, so that's behind that. Freeman Fly, huge shout out. But again, the symbolism, the 70-pound Sirius, and how Sirius was sacred to ancient Egypt. And the United States is a new Egypt in many ways. It was founded by people who really venerated ancient Egypt. And that goes into what's happening now. The pantheon, ancient Sumer, yes, Egypt did have its version of Enki, which would be Ptah, and not all scholars will agree on that. That's because the archetypes change when each culture produces its own analog. So Enki was a water god, a fish god. That's why it's Operation Neptune Spear. They know what they're doing to capture a Pisces. Of course, they didn't capture him alive, because then you'd have to show Osama bin Laden to the world's press, alive Osama bin Laden. So it's kind of convenient how it worked out that they didn't capture him alive, because then they'd have to present him alive. And Benazir Bhutto, Prime Minister of Pakistan, she would know he was already dead. So of course they capture him alive, because you can't prove that they're not that genius yet that they can recreate an Osama bin Laden that the whole world can look at. He was already gone. So that it's really convenient to have him get killed in a firefight, this old man. Plus it doesn't look very heroic for the ultimate males, the ultimate alpha males, not taking anything away from SEALs, Navy SEALs. To qualify as a Navy SEAL, you're like the ultimate symbol of masculinity, but you're shooting an elderly man in the head. I think that kind of takes away from that. And they are very courageous people. Not that they're not courageous, it's just, I don't believe that ever happened at all. That's a B-movie scene with Obama and Biden and Hillary Clinton being very dramatic.
Well, speaking of movies, I'll leave you with this, Rambo. To that point about mummification, I could have sworn I saw some sort of ad or post or something about it. But you remember the Mummy movie series with Brendan Fraser back in the day?
Yes, I do remember it. Yeah.
They're coming out with The Mummy 4.
Are they really? Wow.
Yeah, next year. It says it's scheduled to hit theaters October 15th, 2027.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing this back, what, 20 years later?
Yeah, and this is happening as they have that eclipse that's going to go over through the Twin Pillars and then over the Giza complex. But yeah, so this ties into the NBA. There is it takes a lot to give the context. It's not simple context, but it does go back to ancient Sumer. It goes back to this is the one very important symbol which I'll just leave it at this is the world. It's a ground view of the World Trade Center. That's where you can see the tridents.
Right.
These are the tridents you can see. But you have to look at it from the ground. Most people didn't even know that they were there, but they are. So this is the trident of Neptune. This is a Neptune symbol. Who's Poseidon? Poseidon's 119 in Gematria. But the original archetype is Enki. And again, groundbreaking on 8-5 when Anunnaki comes to 85. This is all about the war of the gods of the ancient Sumerian pantheon, which was the original archetype for modern day religions and ancient religions, such as Greco-Roman religions as well, still active in 2026, still relevant and symbolically. And who knows, even literally, are they still fighting this war of the gods? There's no doubt why this is connected to UFOs. Why is 8-5 so connected to space and UFOs? This is what it goes down. It goes back to Anunnaki 85. That's the kicker. And yeah, they're your tridents. That's what they were destroying. And Enlil is the one who destroyed, who was the half brother of Enki, who won the war of the gods. And his symbol was the eagle. And we see how modern empires embrace the eagle symbol. Babylon embraced the eagle. The Nazis were the new iteration of Rome. They were the Third Reich. The First Reich was the Roman Reich. Rome had the eagle. The Nazi Party had the eagle. There's a major empire now in 2026 that uses the eagle, the most powerful entity in the world. But there's actually a world government already, but that's on an occulted level. But the most powerful government in the world uses the eagle. That all goes back to Enlil. But there are still factions, and the secret societies hold these truths behind the scenes. They're not all on one page. There are still some in the elite circles who do identify with Enki. Not to say it's good guy, bad guy side with Enki, although he does seem more benevolent. But there is a side that of the secret societies that does identify with Enki as well, even though the more powerful segment, the majority actually sides with Enlil, the eagle. And Pisces is interesting because they have that duality. It has two ruling planets, Jupiter and Neptune. That's Enlil and Enki. Pisces have that yin-yang duality, Enlil and Enki. That's why they had to pick a Pisces for that. That represents the war of the gods. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just shouting out, I think it was, who was it? Yeah, Mr. S. Mr. S just pointed out that, Bam Adebayo, right, of the Heat this past year just passed Kobe in all-time scoring with that 83-point game, I think it was.
Yeah.
But he's got that March 10th birthday as well, and just the name Bam. It's kind of interesting,
right.
With all the 9/11 stuff, so.
Yeah, so this one picture, I'll just leave it at that, just to show the aviation theme. These are Knicks fans celebrating to downtown New York outside of Madison Square Garden. I just find this really interesting. Is the fact that he has an airplane seat, and he has his seatbelt buckled. It's just, yeah, it's so curious. Like I've been talking about the aviation theme, and we're talking about how aviation goes into the, can't make this up. U.S. government's admitting that they have bodies and craft and everything. And I'm talking about aviation, that yet the Knicks fans, they chose for whatever reason to carry an airplane seat around Midtown Manhattan, just carrying around an airplane seat, and have this guy get in the seat, buckle the seatbelt, and now they're holding him up in the celebration. The air, this just goes along with what I've been talking about, the aviation theme. That's just so.
Well, and remember last week we talked about how Wemby, you know, he says part of his success besides his training is he's very strict about airplane mode on his phone.
Yeah.
You know,
that's part of it. Yeah,
to avoid distractions and things like that. And it actually goes back to the hand symbolism you're pointing out about Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy. Yeah, her hand symbolism is used to help avoid distraction as well. I don't know. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It almost kind of like the hand symbol kind of looks like a plane, you know?
Yeah,
you can almost kind of point it a certain way.
Yeah, it could,
you know, look like a plane, but yeah, no, that where did you get that photo? You just kind of found it through Google?
You just stumble on stuff. Like there's no way I would even think this is a thing. Like, Knick fan, and no, I wouldn't know it. I just stumbled on it. I said, wait a minute. I've been talking about this theme. The things I talk about keep being validated, like the Final Frontier. I mean, I saw that and I couldn't believe it. I stumbled on that. I was just looking at an ESPN real quick. I want to take a real quick look at ESPN. They were going to talk about the Champions League final. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I had to make a video. And I've been up all night making, videos and putting notes together. And then they had it right on ESPN. In the background, they had that headline from the Times with the Final Frontier, and I couldn't believe it. I said, this is what I've been talking about.
Yeah.
And it's validating everything I've talked about, because on the surface, to most people, it has, he wears number 7 too, Bukayo Saka. They both wear 7, it was game 7. But you can have 77, you go in all sorts of rabbit holes there. But this is the head coach of PSG, who won back-to-back. They wear Air Jordan. PSG, the only club team that wears Air Jordan. They wear Nike in the final, but they have a contract with Air Jordan. They have some uniforms with Air Jordan. Their warms are Air Jordan. His birthday is May 8th May. This is Luis Enrique. He's the manager of Paris Saint-Germain. He has a 5'8", but you can't make this up, 5'8". But yeah, after all that, I just stumbled on this. He actually is in a real airplane seat, and he has his seat buckled, and they're lifting him up. This is after they swept the Cavs. So somebody knows what's going on. I mean, among the fans. That's not a random celebration.
Yeah, that is a very... I would almost argue it's a distasteful celebration. If you're like in New York, you're like, come on, do we really have to do that, guys?
I think it's about Anunnaki 85. I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Anunnaki. But so I'll have my findings on the... I mean, I'm not a sports betting channel. I don't think what I say is it doesn't have as much weight as some of the other people in the community who decode sports. But I think, just real briefly, I'll say I think this points to an upset, which is why I showed underdog in the U, and how the U goes with the V, as Kodi pointed out. So V is definitely a thing. Victor and the movie V, which take place in New York, but Men in Black also takes place in New York related to aliens. And the U is underdog. And who's the big underdog? The biggest underdog story in the last couple of years, huge underdog. It's the mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. He's the big underdog story. He defeated New York State royalty, the Cuomos. They're considered invincible. He's coming from out of nowhere. He challenged the Israeli lobby, which now you can't challenge that lobby. It's the most powerful lobby. No one dares challenge it. Well, he did. And he still won. He's the underdog. Out of nowhere, challenging Goliath, who is the Israeli lobby. Goliath, who's the Cuomo dynasty of New York. His father was Mario Cuomo, who some people believe is the greatest governor that New York ever had, like New York State's best ever governor, Mario Cuomo. A lot of people believe that. And his son, Andrew Cuomo. became governor based off of being his son. He doesn't have anywhere near his father's charisma at all. I mean, he has got it by virtue of being the son of who many people feel is the greatest governor in the history of New York State, Mario Cuomo. Well, that's Goliath. The Cuomo dynasty, New York is a New York Goliath, and the underdog David was Zohran Mamdani, who upset the apple cart. He's the biggest underdog story. He's the underdog, and the U is very important because of where he's from. His father was actually born in Uganda, in East Africa. They're from Indian immigrants to Uganda who became Ugandan, and then that was his father. He might have been born in Uganda, but he's American now, but he has ties to Uganda. So yeah, there's the African theme there, which has a lot to do with it. Wembanyama, his father's from Congo. There's a heavy African theme as well, which I could go on into. I could talk forever on this, but I think
no, go ahead.
No, so the U is the underdog. Zohar Mamdani is the underdog. Zohar Mamdani is a very diehard, authentic. Not some politicians will say they're fans of something. He's not. Since he was a kid, he's a fan of Arsenal, the mayor of New York. In fact, he's held. When Arsenal won the Premier League, the title in England. Arsenal won that, but they lost the Champions League, which is a tournament of champions. But Arsenal already won the English Premier League, and Zohran Mamdani was out there celebrating with Arsenal fans in New York City. So he's an Arsenal fan. So Wembanyama is not only a PSG fan, he grew up attending their games in their stadium. So both of them are authentic fans. Like celebrities sometimes will say they're fans of a team. No, they really are. Wembanyama is a PSG fan. Zohran Mamdani is a Arsenal fan, genuinely. And this is symbolic of the NBA final. It's New York. This is New York. This is Zohran Mamdani's team versus San Antonio. The big star San Antonio grew up attending games of this team. So this Champions League was a symbolic San Antonio Spurs versus New York Knicks. And what I'm saying, this is just me saying, I'm not saying to bet money. I'm not betting, so it's easy for me to say because I'm not betting money. But I do have a reputation. You do put your decoding reputation on the line. The Knicks are the underdog. Everyone sees it as the alien. This is his time. He's been dominant throughout the playoffs. He set records already. Youngest player ever to have 20 rebounds, 40-plus points in a playoff game since he beat Jabbar's record. He's the phenom now. It's the aliens, all about the alien, the hyping aliens. They are the favorites, and they should be on paper. If I didn't think symbolism had anything to do with it, I would say the Spurs are going to win. But I think the underdog will win because of the New York City mayor, Zohran Mamdani. I think it's coded for the underdog.
And JM27 did mention, I didn't know this, Mamdani was sworn in as mayor in a subway station?
He held his swearing in a subway station. Absolutely, yes.
That's crazy.
Again, that's underworld, underdog. We just talk about the Holland Tunnel that's that connects New York to New Jersey. He's trying to go to the stadium. It's the New York Giants, but they play in New Jersey, so it's a New York suburb. That's right. He was sworn in the underground. To me, this codes for the underdog to win. Mamdani is the underdog. I'll just okay. Zohran Mamdani, I'll put that. Mamdani.
What's crazy is that van that you showed in that clip from Men in Black. It's green and yellow, and it goes back to all the stuff you were talking about with green and yellow last year, right?
Great.
And the underdog.
Absolutely, that's part of my decode. But that's good that you're on top of it. But that is my decode. No, he is a genuine Arsenal fan, and here he is. He actually has. This is pretty serious. He's at a mosque. He's praying at Eid. Eid is the end of Ramadan, but he still will emphasize his Arsenal fan. He'll still rep Arsenal, even at a very important religious ceremony. He's a genuine Arsenal. Here he is. I guess he's watching. I don't know what he's watching. I don't know if he's watching the Champions League, but he's a genuine Arsenal fan. So, and Wembanyama is a PSG. Wemby's a PSG fan. In fact, they asked him right before Game 7, which they won. I figured they had to win it based on this. They asked him, who do you think is going to win? Well, he said, like, dumb question. Of course, he's going to say PSG will win. So it was a big day for Wembanyama. His team won. Here he is. He's at the stadium. He's their biggest celebrity fan. He's juggling a soccer ball at the stadium. You can see it in the background here. Paris Saint-Germain in the background. He's at the stadium. He's a genuine fan of the team. So this Champions League final was Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs versus Zohan Mamdani, mayor of New York City, who's a genuine Arsenal fan. And Wembanyama won this one. Wembanyama's up. But then again, I don't know if you want to include the NBA Cup.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Then that's 1-1, that was the score of the Champions League. It was 1-1. It went into extra time at 1-1, and it went into a penalty shootout. But it was 1-1 in regulation, which you know how it is at betting. You found out the hard way in betting. The team that won PSG, if you bet on PSG, the actual score is a draw, which is a tie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get the win because it goes down as a tie. This was Wembanyama versus Mamdani. Now, what I see the problem for Wembanyama and the Spurs with all their coding is that Mamdani is the underdog. He's the ultimate underdog. He defeated New York royalty and the Israeli. Every single one of the candidates he was facing was they before anything else pledged loyalty to Israel. They did. They said it's astonishing primary where they went across every single candidate. I think there were like 6 candidates. Each one of them said, when I become mayor, the first thing I will do is visit Israel and make a visit to Israel, a state visit to Israel. They all said it across the board, including, of course, Andrew Cuomo. Mamdani said, I'm the mayor of New York, and New York City is my priority, so I will not go to Israel. Nothing against Israel. It's just that I am the mayor of New York City. And which you're going against. So you're going up against Goliath, which is kind of interesting. There's a book called Goliath about the political situation in Israel. It's by Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal titled his book Goliath because Goliath refers to Israel. He's saying the state of Israel is not David, it's Goliath. Max Blumenthal, if you want to check out his book. Nonetheless, Mamdani is the underdog. The Zappum extermination company from Men in Black is green and yellow. For that reason, I'm going Knicks just for the symbolism. On paper, I mean, just going by talent-wise, if there's no symbolism behind it, I'd say Spurs all the way. The underdog symbolism is, and I'm glad big shout out to whoever did point out that Mamdani was sworn in the subway. Huge shout out to him. Subway that's remember U Street?
JM27.
Yeah, JM27. Huge shout out to him. That's the subway, the underground, underworld, underdog. I'm saying the underdog wins, the New York Knicks. I used to be a Knicks fan, not anymore. I'm not into it like I used to be. I would have been beside myself in the past. Thank God I've progressed. I'm not saying I'm some great ascended spiritual master, but I've made progress, definitely. And I'm happy for New Yorkers. The city is going nuts right now. And I think they're really going to go nuts because the underdog is going to win, in my estimation. This is all coding for the underdog. I'll leave it at that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's according to the symbols I've been doing for like 2 years now. I think almost a year and a half. Anyway, it's pointing toward the underdog and the underdog mayor in New York City. Yeah, so I'll say that.
Well, I mean, I think that's a pretty good lean, if you ask me. I mean, You heard it here first, you guys. Game 1 starts tomorrow, and I got a feeling between now and whenever the game or the series closes out, there will be at least another 1 or 2 things that will pop up throughout the series. So that's just my hunch. There's always things like that pop up, whether it's an outfit that a player is wearing coming into the game. And I don't know if you caught this, but Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who brought it to the community, but apparently his first game, I believe, as a Knick when he got when he signed with the Knicks, he was wearing a 1999 Spurs Knicks shirt. The first day that he I don't know if it was for like the first game that he played, like a pregame outfit or something like that, but just something you can add to your notes with that too.
Yeah, so he's a big part of that. So this is him here. Yeah, he's a big part of it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So he's the one who's going to go up against Wemby, and he gives away 4 inches to him. So.
32 plus 1 is 33. Going back to Patrick Ewing.
There you go. That's a nice one. You came up with that? Or?
No, well, I mean, I just added the 2 numbers together. I just thought of it. New York 33, right?
No, I didn't know if somebody in the chat said it or you did, but that's a big one. 32 plus 1, 33. There you go.
Yeah. No, I always pin any of the comments I think worth. Not all of them are worth pinning, but yeah, I just thought of that. Add 1. It's kind of like the rule of Kalel that Kodi talks about. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there, Rambo. Final closeout comments and just a final reminder to those in the community where they can find you and support you.
Yeah, my latest video is War of the Worlds, which I want to be a series on the. I showed, if you saw the trailer in the beginning, how it's central. They're saying it now. The U.S. government has live extraterrestrials. I don't use the word alien. That's actually a derogatory term. These are living sentient beings which are more advanced spiritually than humans are. Alien is derogatory, that's why I don't like to use that term. But they're extraterrestrials. And it's mainstream now. It's admitted. They have them. So, I mean, people can make of that what they will, but that's what I'm focusing on. I mean, I'll talk about many things, but I am dealing with the alien theme and how it ties into so many different things. And I'm putting out a series of videos. I'll keep them short, hopefully. I don't want to do any videos more than maybe 12 or so minutes. My latest one is about 10 minutes, which is up for patrons right now. It's War of the Worlds Part 1. That's what's up on Patreon right now. And I hope to do a World Cup because it's not a big soccer audience, but those who are into soccer in my audience have great World Cup decodes. I will do a World Cup decode because it's going to start very soon. It's amazing how time flies. So that's it. I have my War of the Worlds series, which I'll be doing based on the UFO phenomenon, how it ties into everything, popular culture, history. It goes back to Anunnaki, 85. That's the big 85. And how it ties into so many things, sports. I think it ties into baseball even more than it ties into basketball, or as much at least. I have a decode on that, how it ties into baseball. And that's what I have now, what I have going. And patreon.com, thanks again for promoting the channel. $5 tier. You can also join for free. There's content for free as well. And thanks again for the show. And I don't know if Kodi's listening or if he's asleep. Probably he's asleep by now. But thanks again to Kodi for making it. It was great to have him and share what he had. Thanks to all the viewers and in advance to those who will view, who aren't viewing. I know it's late for a lot of people. And thanks to you again, AJ.
Well, you're very appreciated in this community, Rambo. It's a true blessing to have a chance to connect with you every week, and I sincerely appreciate it. It's, talk about time flies. We're already headed into year 2 with this weekly stream, and I don't think we've missed a Tuesday. So,
no.
Yeah, we're always in attendance. And speaking of which, shout out to everybody in the chat. Honestly, overwhelmed by the amount of amazing contributions that come in every single week. The engagement just makes, the coming of the heads together that much better. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Seriously, all of you guys. And yeah, Kodi, if you're out there, if you're listening, thank you again so much for the sacrifices you make to get up the hours that you do to join. And thank you for connecting your channel with this one. That way, you know, we can get as many eyeballs onto this stream as possible. Last thing to the community, if you guys did like the content tonight, please hit that like and subscribe and the share wherever you guys see fit. It really does help with us trying to, you know, grow each other's channels and grow the community as a whole. So appreciate it. My name is AJ, Ball Don't Lie, 3 L's in Ball. You can find all of my work here on YouTube where we're streaming tonight, as well as on Instagram. So make sure to give me a follow there. Doing a lot of collaboration work with people like Myron, He Got Game, and Chase Golden Age Deception, and several others. So that's becoming definitely a daily thing. And, you know, I appreciate the community by including me in those posts. And if you guys are interested in any of my work, send me an email, wordplaybook at 3osinbook@gmail.com. And I will send you guys any copy of these books or all of them for free. And with that said, bless you all. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time.
Take care.
Peace.